It is Friday, Friday, and off into the sunset to the mountain, my second home we go. I got company. The lion and the tree was a bit moody. Still am a bit. Could use a massage therapy session, friends with benefits only, but my anonymous friend when I left, if I make a million, I'm gonna give half 50% up to 156 billion. Give me a hot piece of chicken, breaded chicken, slightly breaded, not too breaded. It wasn't too breaded actually, but that was good. Thank you. And here I am, and on the march now, and going to my second home. You know how I drill it, and always gotta be grateful. Gonna go into the sun, and gonna meditate. Oh yeah, I got a little bit of sunshine. Feel much better now when I got a little bit of sunshine, and see, we're gonna have a little bit of that. We're gonna have a little bit of that strike going on, so that's always something. I won't pass by the fridge today. I'm gonna, if there's something yesterday I passed, I took, and I'm gonna let somebody else have it today, whatever is in there, enjoy it, and that's what it is with that rock and roll for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses. And this is a little pink. I love pink. See, kind of looks like ice cream with that, and that's what it is, that rock and roll like that. And that's how we gotta get on that drill for the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the firefighters, the electricians, the doctors, train conductors, the plumbers. Always for the North American Collectif, marching on the go. And that's where we're gonna go take a little bit of sun all the way in the sunset. Every second the sun rises and sets. Hey, every second there's a sunrise. Hey buddy. There's a little friend there I had a chat with the other day, smoking his cigarette, so now I'm gonna get on the go. So now we're going all the way to the sun, like that, like a snake, like a little bit on that snake, So that's how we drill it in X, and that's how we're gonna get that rock and roll, for the firefighters, the butchers, the bakers, the nurses, the doctors, the plumbers, electricians, all those welders, all the welders. They're going on the strike. Please don't pollute if you have garbage, of course, to do that. That's how I gotta get on the drill right now. See, they're going on a strike. They're gonna go on a strike. And there are lovers there, getting a little bit of hug. That gives me a little bit of hope, It's not all about the money. That's my only stress now, is financial, But paid my rent, paid my electricity bill. Paid also my Netflix. I got the weekend coming. I'm gonna check that Netflix, Gotta watch the season 3 and 4 of the Umbrella Academy. So please give some charity. Millionaires be it is. If you make a million a bin, and Habs have won 4 in a row, so the whole city here is a bit content, happy, joyous. Like myself, I'm not joyous, and I was just moody, Guess I live with my PTSD or my autism, Asperger's. It hasn't been easy, The road to understanding my own neurodivergent has been quite a journey, quite a road. And so we're, of course, now this red on the go, and that's just something which we have now to be prepositioned as we go all the way into the sun, You see a little bit of that sports figures there doing a little bit of that sports. So Habs won 4 in a row, so we're first, number one in the Atlantic. And just please reduce the cost of the tickets, NFL and NHL, NBA, MLB, reduce the cost of the tickets. That would be nice, of course, to see the reduction with that. And that's just something which we gotta be on the appellation, of course, to be on the now. And of course, all that civilizational complex, of course, where we are now, interdependent and interconnected, tough economic times, and that's how we got there to go and to be transmissive. Oh, look at that beauty, Just beautiful here in the autumn, and now they set it up for the winter. The big one for the winter there. It's all set up to go. See? It's a big stadium here, Montreal and Loyola campus. Gotta get it on that rock and roll here. See, that's a big stadium which they set up. It's kind of nice. Every winter they set it up for the sports to be inside, because you can't really play soccer in the snow if you're gonna be one of those harsh winters with lots of snow. You see there. It's already set up. Yesterday when we passed, and the day before, I don't think it was there, but now it is there, and they're playing a little bit of football. We got those stingers, sting them up here. our team, you know, we gotta get a little bit of that defense, offense, and together, of course, in the intermittent population where we are now, you know, that's something which we have to be. I like dancing is my favorite sport, but I like gridiron and North American football, and I'm marching now to the mountains, see, my second home, and they're about to go on a second strike now. It's gonna be tough and for many who commute, and I commute in these steel toes, and I take Publik sometimes, Public President. See, they gotta set it up here, and I think there's a game. I think there might be a game today. Yeah, Stingers might be a game tonight, later on. That's why they set it up there at a big stadium, and I didn't check the schedule, you know. Check my 49ers and love my dancing. Dancing is my favorite sport. So we gotta get on that drill now, you know, as I march to the mountain and back. Here we got the Concordia Stadium in Hawk Island, Montreal, you know. Montreal is that Hawk Island, and you got those Stingers getting ready, of course, to do a little bit of that drill, you know, and get, of course, to be ready to do a little bit of that sensation and get a little bit of that drill with that. And I guess we're working out, training, exercising now, you know. Somebody there cheerleading for them, I guess. And yesterday marched more than the generals of NATO combined, and maybe, you know, I have, I guess, one secret cheerleader. Maybe my anonymous friend who are in the backpack. You know, I got that RAD red gloves which are in the backpack, by which I have been able to continue to challenge Donald Trump on a boxing match on the Canadian-US border, and been on a march ever since I got out of my depression. I was a bit moody earlier, but I cleaned, sweep the floors, the kitchen, my room, the bathroom, and the hallway. So I got 4 areas in my underground room off St. Temple. Still small, but bigger than where I used to live. You know, I used to live. Look at those birds there. Beautiful birds. Somebody's feeding them a little bit. So they all congregated like a tribe. And hey, I ain't got much money, but I got trillions of kisses. So you're gonna pledge your allegiance. Pledge your allegiance, legions. If you want some kisses, I got kisses by the trillions. I got 718 trillions of kisses, and marching steps I got by that plenty. Hey, y'all well fed, eh? You're getting fed there in the corner. I love birds. Hawk, hawk, hawk. We got hawks here as well. And I love crows, you know. Crows cheer me on. And my anonymous friend, I got in that backpack those red gloves. You know, it's a Dragon versus Trump event. Special, did you know? I was thinking of launching a series, Did You Know? Friday before the Sabbath series. And of course, Did You Know? Friday before the Sabbath series, which is going to be today. Did you know that Arnold Schwarzenegger's name translated as black egg? It's actually a composition of 2 words, Egger. Schwarzer for German word for black. It's the German word for black. Schwarzer is Schwarz. Schwarzen is Schwarz. Rota is red. Schwarz is black. So Schwarzenegger's name, right? Schwarzenegger's is nice. I like the bus lines. Very colorful. Schwarzenegger's name is black egg, basically. Right? Black egg. Or blacked or black. Anyway, so it's kind of for those who are on the fanatics, you know, to get it on the drill now. Gonna circumvent on the side there. To get it in and get it out, and that's what we gotta get, you know, and gonna go straight towards the sun. That's where I'm heading now, you know, towards the sun. And I love the garden here. Somebody put a little red jacket here. I already wear this one that I'm having now, and this is a cutie. Look at that. I just love it here. Even last time, eh? Such a nice garden. Somebody had made that garden. Please don't damage it. And drive safely, you know. People are stressed out there, you know. People are stressed out there, you know. People are stressed, you know. You're trying to get on that stress. Financial stress, you know. I'm laughing at myself because, you know, I am weird, awkward, bizarre, and strange, you know. And it's an androgynous pansexual aspie artist who suffered, struggled, been depressed, been suicidal, who survived a vicious surprise attack a few years ago. I still have to go retrieve the archives of the Jewish Journal, but I know I have certain odd mannerisms and weird, bizarre, awkward things, and sometimes, you know, I have a tendency to stare, you know, to stare at things or objects, and especially little beauties like that, see? Little beauties like that, there, little beautiful flowers there and here and there, and I love it. These are really nice. I love colorful flowers like these. These are always bringing me a little bit of joy. See how nice they are now, and it's beautiful flowers. Please don't damage them. Don't leave trash like that. See, don't leave that there. See, these ones also have to be recycled. I'm not gonna touch the cigarette butts, but this is really nice, you know. That's really nice with that. There we go. There we go. These don't leave like, these have to be recycled, people. You know, if this, because it has the ink, right? So the black ink, if it's gonna start raining or if it's gonna start snowing, it's gonna cover the snow. It's gonna damage the fertile earth, you know. The earth, the black fertile earth is fertile like that. But if these, of course, get damaged and gets water on them, of course, those are just the appellations, of course, where we are, of course, to get, to do it, you know, because it's the public. So public, keep it. I like the public flowers, I like the public garden, so it's also a public matter where we ourselves have to do it. So they're going to go on a strike. They're going to be heading on their strike soon, and of course here you also got to be prudent for when you cross the street, but they're going to go on a strike. We're going to see the second strike and see if they're going to get something going. They were requesting for 25% over 5 years, which is the equivalent, of course, of 5% increase. We got both rights and responsibilities, eh? I love the colors of the bus. Like waves, how it is done. You're gonna need a little bit of some buses like that, but that is, of course, something which we have now to be interrelated. But nonetheless, they were requesting for 25% increase over 5 years. That is the equivalent of 25 divided by 5. It's 5% annually. Of course, so 5% annually. 5% annually, of course, is the reality of which we have now today in the organizations where we have to be related upon. So that is just something which we have, of course, consequently intermittent about the relationships of where we are, the dynamic of the public and the private, without being too overly incorporated in the academic sensorial sense of the philosophical academic scholarly manner, but with a really simplification that we need to balance and rebalance the public and the private domains across what I call, of course, the North American Collective. The North American Collective being fundamentally Canada and the United States, which is always for me, eh? It's always for the 10, the 50, and the 3. It's always for the 10, the 50, and the 3. See, that's what that says in French there. They're preparing for a strike, and you know, they got different syndicats, basically syndicates, but it's basically labor unions, right? So they got that negotiations, and 99%, and me, you know, 99%, but I'm part of the less than 1% of the population myself, although financially stressed. I guess in that sense I'm with the 99% financially, economically, even the less than 1%, because I'm financially stressed myself and have been for years and years and years. But me has mainly been due to my struggle with HFA, high functioning autism, and Asperger's. That has been the main struggle. And for me, my community, you know, the problem is in our community, being it's a small, tiny fraction of the population, in my community the unemployment rate is 80+%. Eh? So imagine that. Just imagine the unemployment rates, 80%. Can you imagine that? 80%. So 80% is a valued, is a horrible situation. Eh? It's really horrible. 80% is 4 out of 5 Aspies, people like myself with Asperger's, which is one and the same with HFA, and I have this discuss it every day, because it's been a tough journey for me to accept it and integrate it in my efforts to build bridges with fellow neurotypicals, because we have to build bridges, you know, and I don't have antagonistic, hostile, and negative feelings towards you. And see, I'm going to recycle those that were there, and you have to do your right. See, you have to do it right. You have to put, sometimes, see, like this doesn't go in this goes in recycling. See this bag. So that's why you have to do it ourselves, and sometimes I check. You see, people don't do it, but this has to go in this is recyclable, my friends. This doesn't go in the garbage. So this also is recyclable. See, we have to do it individually. If we don't do it individually, we don't do our part as individual. It's also individual citizen, sovereign citizen, liberty, and at will to exercise for the environment, right? As I salute the train conductors, I always love a little bit of that train conducting right here, how they're driving it and how they're going in and out. I mean, east and west, and it's quite a privilege, having all this privilege of civilization, which really is. Civilization really is fundamentally a privilege. That was my thesis back in 2023. Of course, I had worked for a few years on it, but that was fundamentally my thesis. in 2023, the privilege of civilization, because I'm a philosopher. I'm not just an artist and an athlete, I'm also a philosopher. And my philosophies are basically fundamentally tied with my geopolitical, me being an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst, theorist, philosopher, and thinker, and strategist, as I develop strategies for the North American collective, or what I call the North American collective. Oh, got some Halloween there. Excited for Halloween, please. Oh, the squirrel is eating the... Oh my gosh. The squirrel is eating the... It's pulling on the... I went up now, but he was pulling on the... It's supposed to be like for Halloween, right? It was pulling on that. I could try to chew it or something. It's not, it's not edible. It was pulling like, duck, duck, 4 times. I saw it pull hard. I saw his head move like 4 hard. Like with power, with strength, with vigor, vigorously. He was pulling vigorously on it 4 times. Duck, 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 duck. And of course he was pulling vigorously. And here it is, this flag. When I spot the flag, you know the rules. That's how we rock and roll. I spot the flag, that's the Canadian flag there. So whenever I spot the flag, I gotta show my flag there. See? I spot the flag, I gotta show my own flag there. See? Look at that. I don't know exactly. According to my journals, which I kept, I got that about 22 years ago, a long time ago. As you don't know, but I'm making a reference is because my memory before January, February 2014, which is a long time ago, it's 11 years and more than 11 years and 7 months ago, more than 11 years and a half. I have problems with my memory, my life memories prior to 2014, so I don't know if I was a junkie, if I was doing drugs. I have memories of that vicious surprise attack. I guess I still reverberate some PTSD when I was attacked viciously by surprise. I was a surprise attack, nothing fair, nothing let's go, and no warning, no sportsmanship. It's a vicious surprise attack, just a vicious surprise attack. And I was hit in the head, and I guess I survived. I'm just gonna go inside here a bit. Replay? I keep the old ones, thank you.
Right.
Yeah. So I checked already, so there's nothing on them. I'm gonna have to give you the whole money. Perfect.
$14, is that right?
It should be, yeah, exactly. Should be 14, yeah. Exactly, this is it. Perfect. You know if your chocolate milk is on special?
I'm not too sure, to be honest, but
No
it's
problem.
on special very often.
Okay.
We're putting up the new special stickers, so there's a possibility. There's a special right now that's just not showing.
Yeah.
But yeah, very often we have those on special.
I'm asking because last time I checked, it increased in price.
All right.
So I'm not sure, but it was the special is now $2.29, I believe.
All right.
Thanks, bud.
Have a
Oh,
good day.
that's my bill.
Yeah.
Awesome. Likewise, you too as well. I thought I'd press pause, man. Gonna sit down here for a second, just put it in and make sure we get it on there. All right, well, here we go for the adventure. I was trying to get a little bit of that sun, but I don't think I will get. However, we rock and roll, you know, towards the sunset. Beautiful. What? A few years ago, 6-7 years ago, I have to ask my friend. We tried doing Halloween, but nobody came but the neighbors' children. So we ended up having all the candies. All the candies leftovers. So that was the drill with that. Anyways, as we go now, gotta get it on the left and on the right. And look at these beauties. Aren't these just gorgeous there? Nice pink. It's bright colors makes me feel good, you know. These ones too, bright. These ones I like also, kind of nice. These ones are gorgeous. Gorgeous flowers. Just gives me a smile. Little things in life. I love bright colors, you know. The brightness of the colors of the flowers just make me feel good, you know. I feel much better. I was moody, but now I saw my flowers. I saw a little bit of sun. I got a little bit of sun, like 4 seconds. Sun is always shining, always setting, but played with my anonymous friend a little bit of had $7 each, so we decided to play 50-50, you know. Said, hey, we don't usually play, but you gotta guess sometimes. Like if you don't play, you don't win. If you don't work out, you don't get fit, eh? And I've been on a fitness journey for many years, and many years with that. And watch it when you see police there. Well, we have, of course, to cross the street safely and prudently, and of course in the Conquer Italy where we are now, in the left, white, and left, white, and of course the relationship where we are now, you know, for the domains and getting on the go now. Beautiful, colorful there, colorful flowers, and that's just when we're gonna get drilling, man. Left and right, turn your heads left and right, because they might, of course, they might press the accelerator instead of the brake. If they press the accelerator instead of the brake, that's a consequence, right? Because it can happen, you know. Stressed after a long day, a nurse finished 12-hour shift, mistakes, accidents, but people are stressed. People won't need more blah blah blah. I think people need more mass financing of a good massage therapies, you know, to have massage therapies. That's what I need right now. But you know who deserves it more than me? Firefighters right there. Firefighters right there. They're in it, they deserve it more than me, you know. So give them a good massage therapy session, millionaires, and NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB. If I would be, I'm in this big city, Montreal, Hawk Island, if I would be a billionaire, I would go and of course I would donate them some food, you know. Every weekend I would go to donate to the firefighters. Just bring them some food, some donuts, some coffee, you know, rather than just words of appreciation, some action, you know. And there are people out there who are capable with that money, finances to buy, sell, and hey, we got one's looking angry, one's looking grinning, and one's looking like, what do you want, you know? 3 different ones with 3 different facial expressions. Oh, there was a 4th one there above, right? That's what it was, hidden. There were actually 4, but the 3 were on the steps, which since there were not enough steps, I guess, to put it, the 4th one was there. So, yeah, financially stressed, but hey, you know, I live it every day live for today with hope for tomorrow. You know, that's how I live it since about February 2020. I really thought I was gonna die. It is my 4th rebirth in the past 11 years. My 4th rebirth, and as I was discussing a priori before I commenced and went into the shop and did the business before heading to the mountain, I was of course discussing the fact that I have problems remembering my life prior to winter 2014, which is a long time ago. I used to live in Montreal, still on the island of Montreal, so I've been living here for many years in this past life, in this incarnation and in another, you know. So I'm a mystic as well, I believe in reincarnations, but I used to live in a very moldy place, very moldy. It was underground mold, and there was lots of mold there. I didn't even have a proper kitchen, you know. I didn't even have a proper kitchen, you know. So I didn't even have a proper kitchen with that, and that is just what we have now. So look at those beautiful yellows. I didn't have a proper kitchen. The kitchen was sink, and the oven was in the room. Was in my room. The kitchen was in my room, and of course I didn't have a bathtub. I didn't even have a bathtub. Right? I didn't even have a bathtub to bathe. It was like a small prison cell, you know. It wasn't really a prison cell, but I guess I served my time, and I always say I got saved by the goddess, by the GODDSS, by the goddess, in order to save some others. As you see on my videos, sometimes I take sharp objects and remove them and put them in the trash where they belong. Or the other day was pills, like 3 different sorts of pills, many pills, and there were different ones, and I said, hey, you gotta put it in the trash, don't leave that outside, because there should be children around and they could play. They're 7-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 4-year-olds. They play around, 11-year-olds, and they take it, hey, swallow and die and go to the emergency, you know. So that's just something which we have, of course, to be counterpoised with the relationships what we have now, to be inclined, you know, to do those deeds, you know. So I'm just gonna take 4 steps to the right and 4 steps to the left. That is my protocol, you know. The protocol when I see my fellow senior citizens or people with children or with something like dogs, what I do is I take 4 steps to the right and 4 steps to the left, and then I circumvent and put it back, right. I do 4 steps to the right, 4 steps to the left. And of course that is just something what we have to be doing now. So that's just the consequential, of course, appellation where we have now, and of course all those domains where we got now for the circumstantial position of where we are to go to work out to my second home, the mountain, you know, to my second home, the mountain. So those domains are of course in the relationship where we have now, you know, to be in the domain and to be consecrated to the mountain on the island. There's the flag spotted. Canada, flag spotted there, you know. Show that flag. Gotta show that flag there, you know. See Canada, and a little bit of that, and see 3, 1, 2, and the 3rd one there, 4th is on me, on my body. And again, supposedly, since I kept some journals, so some of them got damaged because I spilled coffee on them. So I have some left, you know. I have some left, but of course that is the circumposition where we are now, to be in the relationship and the affectionations of the present time being now. That, of course, those dynamics that were referred to in my journals, part of them are representation of events such as me getting some tattoos, but question is where exactly. Anyways, doesn't really matter. Sometimes memory comes back, you know. But I mean, 2014, January, February, of course, it's 2014. That's a long time ago, you know. So that is a long time ago. 2014, you know, January, February, that is 2014. That is a long time ago, of course, to be in the consequential preposition where we are now. To turn our heads left and right, and of course, to be in the singularity, of course, to transposition, of course, where we got now, and turn your heads left or right, because since the fact that sometimes the brakes malfunction, you know. So if the brakes malfunction, the brakes, or sometimes the citizen driver might press the accelerator instead of the brake. I also kind of like those ones, see? Kind of they're not really flowers, but they're kind of nice there. Thank you, public workers, for putting them. And you got some of that Halloween. Please reduce the Halloween candies. Owners, millionaires, billionaires, owners, reduce the Halloween candies, you know. It's got his mouth open. It's got a jewel, red, R-E-D. It's got that red jewel, or ruby. The dragon's got a ruby in the mouth. Ruby in the mouth. Go all out, go all in, go all out, go all in. I'm not a demon, I'm a dragon. I just rock and roll and sing. I know I'm not good necessarily with the voice, but not that good necessarily with the voice, but that good rock and roll on that lyrics, you know. The lyrics, creating the lyrics with that. So the creation of the lyrics, of course, is the counterposition where we have, of course, to analyze simultaneously the realities of me being neurodivergent. Oh, there's a nice spiders, 1 2 3 4 nice spiders, a big one and the big ones there. So we got, of course, those spiders where we are now, circumferential, of course, to be in the position, of course, of the spiders. So that's nice. I like that, you know, the spiders and all those types of Halloween candy decoratives are nice, you know, they're nice, and you can see them all around. You can see them left and right, and that's always something nice. Here is not that many. Oh, there is more there. There's actually quite enough on the streets. I'm happy, joyous for the children. Are gonna have a good Halloween, and I wish I would have been a millionaire, to just mass finance some, you know, some of that good drill with that. And oh yeah, those are it's a character, right? Look at that. That's a character from the Party Till You Drop. That's a message, Party Till You Drop, and spooky. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. I don't know, it's just cool. And I got some more there, skeletons, and some more hanging out, so that's nice there. Flaming orange. Flaming orange. The children, it's like just looking at you with a grinning type of in a sinister way, almost, you know, almost inappropriately. I mean, it is inappropriate because it's kind of supposed to be scary, you know. We have some voting coming on. I still haven't checked. Probably this weekend. Gonna check a little bit on the voting apparatus. It's gonna be November 2nd. Turn your heads left and right before you cross the street, because due to the fact that it is possible for the brakes to malfunction, and it is possibly for the citizen driver to press the accelerator instead of the brake. Here we go. See, there's a neurodivergent, citizen, sovereign, androgynous, pansexual, always part of the LGBTQ community who lives with the neurodivergence. We always have to build bridges with you, the 99% of neurotypicals, who constitute, of course, the vast majority. Of course, the vast majority of you constitute the neurotypicals, right? The neurotypicals of you, they're 99%, and all those neurotypicals which constitute their 99% are you. The vast majority, of course, of the citizens are neurotypical. So we constitute, of course, the neurotypicals. We constitute the neurodivergence, myself and others, who are less than 1%, right? Because only about 0.44%. Although the real number is double, because I'm part of the half who are unofficially diagnosed. Although myself, of course, I am part unofficially diagnosed, but I've been diagnosed by several individuals as citizens, of course, for many, many years. Citizens who have, my friend also, who has experience working with people with autism and high functioning autism, which is one and the same. It's Asperger's and high functioning Asperger's and autism. You know, here on the island of the Hawk, 2.5 million people, and that is just what we got to do. And that's what I check a little bit of that beautiful sun. I guess I saw a little bit of it, and that's how we're gonna get drilling, man. You know, see some ghosts here and there, and got some ghosts on the side. and a witch. 2 witches. Swiss, there's 4 witches. That's 4. I guess they're all related, maybe. Big family. I'm not a witch, I'm a priestess for the empire. I got those trillions of kisses and trillions of steps, and we got some nice blue ones here. Look at those blue. Super nice, eh? Yeah. Nice blue, huh? Nice flowers. I'll get it on that go and turn my head left and right, you know, if I cross the street, because you never know. So now we're gonna have to go squish it in a little bit there because I have to go. So we're gonna go in the wild, in the wilderness, to do the needs, because once I get on the crossing on the other side, then I'm gonna be on that civilization of concrete jungle, and there won't be much opening before that until the mountain we get it along. So that's beautiful, eh? So autumn here, I like the 4 seasons, but autumn has the specialness of the colors. All seasons have a beauty, but the colors, and see, these are wild grapes here. So these are edible. These are edible grapes, eh, by the way. So these you can eat. These are edible grapes. Edible, right there in the corner. Those you can eat. They're edible, and you can check past my videos. And starting a few years ago during COVID, I harvested wild grapes. I washed them really well, a few times, like 4 times. Then I boiled them. And while they're boiling, I kind of crushed them and I make juice. I might put a little bit of sugar, depending on if I have sugar. If not, brown sugar. If not, substitute for sugar. But now that's that rock and roll with that drill. So that is just basically where we're gonna have to be circumpoised about, and in the domains where we are now related to all the civilizational complex. And here we're gonna come because that's blocked there. So please don't pollute if you come here. We got flora fauna. So see you in 4, 3, 2, 1. Different timelines. There is a perfection in the twin of the goddess called nature. There is beautiful red, my favorite color. There is a beautiful nature. These are not edible, but they're kind of cute. There is a perfection. A perfection. And these are gonna probably be staying like this, red, even when it snows, interesting enough. We'll see. We'll come back and check on these reds. Legions, legions. These are my legions. One of it symbolizes a legion of 300. That means that we're Draconis gonna be millions, I guess. Legions to our family, and coast to coast, ocean to ocean, from the island of the Hawk, and the mountain until the end. And you know, Mother Nature here, guess has got a twin sister, and the twin sister, well, guess it's nature in her perfection. Got a little bit of those drills with that, and got a little bit of that rock and roll, and got some gardens there you can go by the side. And I guess we could go. Yeah, let's go to see where the sun is, the sunset. If we can get a sunset and then go by the side and cut it off and just going into the mountain. Why not? Might as well do a little bit of a different routes here just to show on the Friday. And maybe we won't even go to the mountain necessarily, because we can go tomorrow. Hey, we can go tomorrow. Oh, there's a dog there, and it might jump on me. I don't know. I have certain allergies for certain dogs, you know. Yeah, so I gotta be careful, because if you have the oopsie. So that is best for where a dog park is, because if there's children playing here, and the dog is see, those are wild grapes. Better to have it on a leash, you know, if there's children and can attack. I know it's going after animals. So all these wild grapes, these are very good. We're sour. So with these, I'm gonna come and collect them from here the coming days, weeks ahead. probably next weekend or next Friday even. I don't have a bag for them now, but see, they're pretty clean there, but just gonna no. See, they're wild grapes, so we're gonna enjoy some wild grapes on the way to the mountain, my second home, or maybe we'll go to the side of the mountain and then coming back, not necessarily to the top of the mountain, because we might go tomorrow or we might go Sunday morning, and we're gonna eat some wild grapes. So with these grapes, you can see in past videos, I do of course the special Dragon winter Canadian juice, grape juice with wild Canadian grapes from the island, actually even Montreal, island of the Hawk. We're surrounded by a big river. Nice beautiful flowers there, see? They're orange, flaming orange, very nice. And you got the little ones. These are kind of edible. Kind of, but they're so small you can actually do a jam if you crush them and boil them. And these red ones, these are edible, and these are edible. These are basically apples, small tiny apples. But the other one, red ones there, they're not. These red ones they are, but not the other ones. But these you could do a winter jam, you know. Maybe I'll do a mixed red, compare. I can crush them and do a jam, you know, for them to use. Jam. Put a little sugar and boil them, crush them, boil them, put them together. Sift. See? So that's all we got. Here we are, financially joyous now. I was moody, you know, but say I have a lot of things to be grateful for. My anonymous friend gave me a big piece of chicken, and I left, and that was good. And now I'm here, you know, working out, training, exercising, which I've been on a fitness journey since 2017. Before that, I was overweight, I was depressed, I was suicidal for a few years. I thought I was gonna end it all for me. I said I'm gonna end it, you know, but I didn't. And what got me out of depression was crossing Canada coast to coast in 2017. In August 2017, with my anonymous friend, we embarked on a journey from Montreal to Vancouver, 3.5 days. 3.5 days. We changed buses several times, and we reached Vancouver 3.5 days by bus, crossing Canada in length, from Montreal to, it was thousands of miles and thousands of kilometers. It was like 4,000 something, I gotta check exactly, but in the thousands of kilometers and thousands of miles from the east to the west. And then we came back, and in September we took the train. The train we didn't change, it was direct train from Montreal to Halifax at 25 hours and 44 minutes, so more than a day. We ate, we slept on the train because it was more than a day. We left in the morning at 7 in the morning Montreal time, EST time, same as New York. And we arrived, was local time, 25 hours and 44 minutes later. 25, almost 26 hours. Almost 26 hours. And of course we had that rock and roll, and it was like 9 a.m. Halifax, maritime time, because we got time zones in Canada, 4.5 hours, 4.5 hours from the extreme, or 5.5, you know, hours time zones, because there's time zones, you know. So the sun now always rises, always sets every second. Then there's the sunrise and the sunset. Wow, we got those October tomatoes, little October tomatoes. They're still red and harvestable. Isn't that amazing? October, they still look good for the harvest, man. I hope they don't go to waste. I don't think so, but those greens are gonna ripen maybe if we get some days of hot and heatness. When I see a lot of good harvesting ones, you can always harvest them. I hope they're not gonna go to waste, but I don't think so. But it's, see there also we got October harvests. Oh nice, look at that, red. Little ones as well, see, little tiny ones. And I think this is a nice one. It got gardens in October. I have it. Experience urban gardening. In a few years I've done urban gardening myself, and these are edible, right? but they're sour as well. But with these, we could probably do a big jam. These are red. See the beautiful Mother Nature. See what the beauty of them are. I'm glad I took a turn. See a little bit of rock and roll. You know? Integrate with black fertile earth and Mother Nature a little bit, and I'm gonna clean it a bit. Not bad. Very small, but not bad. Not even sour. That's how it gets a bit sour. It gets a bit sour, you know, as you chew into it. Kind of chewable, you know. Maybe you can do a jam. Maybe you can do a jam, you know. Maybe not. Yeah. Maybe, I'm not sure. You know, maybe not. Maybe not. That's it. And I eat it all. Take it all in bites. All of it. Wow. Not the stem, of course. That's what I wanted to come see. See all these. Whenever I pass by these, I always meditate on my thesis. And in consequence, all the brains and the muscle it took for us to build these in the 20th century, and it provides electricity, electrification. And let's face it, we're open for sabotage and espionage, right? By nefarious outside forces because of you remember my DMAA, Direct Military Assistance in Action, which has consequences. I'm going to discuss it in a bit. The DMAA theory. It's not just a theory, it's a philosophy. It's a work to be put into practice. It's a work, of course, to be initiated and integrated in all the complexities where we are now, of course, for the manifestation of all these drills now, you know, on the island of the Hawk. Always gotta meditate. For the firefighters, plumbers, butchers, electricians, but our grids are not. Even there's Microsoft detected a few weeks ago is in the news mass espionage, covert espionage by China, you know, and you wonder why China increased their military capabilities in the past 4 years like never before, their nuclear armaments. Here we are. Here we can't go too much that way because there's a sign there that says private property, so you can always go until here. Right, then it kind of ends here. So you can't really traverse, right, because this is private. CN, Canadian CN, and they merged, CN, CP, Canadian Pacific, Kansas City, 2023, they merged for the first time. Now you can go all the way to Mexico. So of course we can go all the way to Mexico now. All the way to Mexico, you can go take the train, and all this is a privilege. And those big towers there, the transmission lines, we gotta get secured always for the 10, the 50, and the 3, because our electricity here, go Hydro-Quebec workers of the past and present, our electricity always goes to the states, 5, I believe, 6 states now, I believe it reached, all the way to Manhattan Island. So here we go. We're not gonna stay much here, we're just gonna drill it back. I just wanted to see the sun and see the beautiful sunset and do a little bit of meditation and check a little bit of the wilderness before you go into the other wilderness in the concrete jungle. So it's always fun for me to pass by this element, and we got a lot of nature places, preservations like this one on the island of Montreal. Although we're a metropolis of 2.5 million people, hey, it's like a small city. But we have that fertility here, and of course the true north, strong and free. We gotta add some liberty and joy and love with the true north, strong and free, because it's not all about being free and strong. You gotta add some complimentary loving. And if you're a billionaire, please help buying the children's candies by reducing the Halloween candies. You know, that'll be something which I would do. But there's tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of This one just like this, both across the 63, across Canada and United States. We have pretty much very common standards of electrification and common business standards. Of course, the only thing that we gotta get rid of ASAP here is the king and monarchy, because my brothers and sisters, the king of England is absent, eh? The king is absent. I always say we should have been a republic on the 1st of January 2000, with the turn of the millennium. Hey, these are, look at these, red, red, red. My favorite color, I'm wearing all red, red pants, red backpack, red, and there's a red here, and the fourth red, the red, let's go back to there. The red one is there, but these, see, you can harvest these. I hope they do here. If they don't, I'm gonna take some and harvest, maybe do either. But see, these are going a bit on the, they're going bad. Some of them are already going bad because before the winter. See, this one is bad. So you got a few, 2-3 more weeks before the winter hits hard, you know. So maybe they're gonna harvest them there, and you know, you don't for the children. If you make them, you just take off the seeds, right? You take off the seeds. So it's advisable that you take off the seeds, you remove the seeds if you have children and that. Although if you boil them, the seeds, you can just get boiled and soften the seeds as well. I ate it with a seed, it's not a big problem for me. But 4 seeds, well, not that many. 4 black ones, 4 black seeds in it. And that was just what it is with the go here, you know. You got nature to serve, and Mother Nature, and not just thinking worst case scenario. You know, food prices have been going up, and worst case scenario, nuclear war, you never know, eh? You never know nowadays. China might invade Taiwan any minute, any second. Any minute, any second, you know. So of course here where we are, where we traverse now, is the parallel of the train, right? The train. See, it's going there, the train, and it's a nice place, you know, something that I like, and I like, that's chamomile actually. I believe that's chamomile. I don't know all the botany because I'm not a botanist, but I know a little bit. I did some gardening, urban gardening in the past in Montreal, but small lots, like small like this. Actually, they were bigger than this one, but it's nice. I like gardens. I like gardening, but I'm not an expert, you know. I'm not an expert. I know a little bit, you know. To soil the seeds, put the seeds in, to water them, and to just take the weeds, you know. There's work, there's labor. It requires some brains and muscle. You just doesn't grow like, you just don't plant the seed and it grows. You have to take care of it, you know. So you have to water it, and have to take care of it, and have to manage it, and you know, that's just how it is if it grows nicely, you know. And that's just how it is, you know. You gotta grow nicely with that, and that's just like human beings, I guess, you know. And sometimes we make mistakes and we correct them, and I guess I had to make my corrections so many times, you know. I guess I'm on my 4th restart now, you know, to be on the go. I'm just gonna let my pass there. Whoopee.
It smells, sorry.
Oh, it's okay. It's just because I'm a bit allergic to the furs.
Oh, yeah.
Except for poodles. It's okay, no worries. Bye, have a nice day. I have some allergies, but depending on the fur, you know, the thickness, if they're long, I start sneezing. Whew. It didn't come too close, but it's just, that's not hardcore allergic reaction. It's just to some species of dogs that have, if it gets close to my face, you know, the thickness of the fur, the length and the thickness of the fur, you know. The thickness and the length of the fur, the thickness and the fur. So the thickness, you know. That's what it is with that, and that's what I gotta get doing with that. But besides that, I'm fine. I don't mind them, you know. Poodles I can pet in bed, and they can sleep over in my bed, poodles, anytime. I had a friend visited, and an acquaintance, and years and years and years ago. 2018. Wow, almost 7 years, man. It's gonna be 7 years, and hardcore, man. Hardcore. Wow, 2018, man. Winter 2018. It's been a long time. It's gonna be 7 years. But yeah, that was a nice poodle, and petted it nicely, and had it on the go with that, and Here it is, here it is. That's what you got. Beautiful, hey, nice. I just love it, love it. I just quadruple my smiles there. They're just there, just peaceful and perfection in their perfection of Mother Nature. And seeds go down, and then you got the beautiful flowers, and got a bit. Just gorgeous yellow and flaming orange there. Amazingly beautiful. And we got that 4G, 5G grids now, you know, connecting, and my phone is in motion, and I always meditate. I'm not an expert in science and technology, but always sipping a little bit of meditations there with the brain is always a little bit of mathematical, semi-scientific calculations in the background. But in this life, my special interest is, you know, people with Asperger's like myself, also known as HFA, high functioning autism, which is one and the same. Asperger's and HFA is one and the same. There's no difference, right? There's no difference whatsoever. They merged in 2013, 2014. They're now known as Asperger's. I still use Asperger's as a condition, neurological mental divergent condition, not an illness, and certainly not a disease. Yes, we are less able in certain things and have more trouble in certain certain social understandings, and the way we socialize can be weird, awkward, strange, and bizarre, but we're not bad, evil, or negative, or malicious, but we're a tiny minority. There's not a lot, and I consider myself to be part of those semi-officially diagnosed, so that is just the problem which we encounter to be in all the domains. But I'm a joyous aspie now. I've been through a lot, scarred and scars and depression and suicidal and loneliness and losing friends and losing jobs. Unemployment for aspies stands at more than 80%, so that's 4 out of 5, you know. And although we're a tiny minority, not all aspies. Hey, look at these beautiful, hey, look at that. Not all aspies are good at computer. I gotta post. Look at that beauty. Not all aspies are good at computer science, by the way. Yeah, their number is disproportionate considering that we are a tiny small fraction of the population. We are less than 1%. There is a disproportionate amount. When we compare and contrast the populational disproportional, statistically speaking, the mathematical proportional representation of the population, which is good with computers and good in computer science and good with computers and the computer science business, it's the 20%. About in the aspie community, so about 1 out of 5, which compared to you neurotypicals, who are the vast majority of the population of 99%, with you is about 1 to 4%. So your community vis-a-vis us, we have an advantage there, if you were to say, but we're less than 1% of the population. But when it comes to computer science, there is a statistical representative margin. So the representational statistical margin is way different than for you, the neurotypical population. A standard is about 11 times, you know? 11 times. So it stands to about 11 times for that. Gonna turn my head left and right, you never know. Sometimes here they might malfunction with that, and electricity. It's a 4-corner, kind of the dangerous corner, and you see when I see that, got a potholes to fill, and I let my fellow citizen go here, pass, and now I'm gonna cross, and gonna make sure we cross safely. And by the way, there was a recorrection, yesterday at my place, not on my place, but when we started the video, in the corner gas in my neighborhood, the corner gas station, when we left, we did the calculation, it showed 140.9, right? But when I came back, they had corrected it, they had put it back to 150.9. So that was a mistake, unless it went up and down in a few hours, big swings like that. Because remember I said, hey, wow, that's an 11-cent drop. But actually it didn't drop 11 cents, it dropped 1 cent. So just to make the correction from the video from yesterday, which of course was 16th of October, which I still haven't filled. I got so busy cleaning, so busy with doing a little bit of other things and stretching and doing geopolitical analysis, because there's big meetings coming on between Trump and Zelensky, and with the Gaza peace accord and peace process ongoing, and the ceasefire, and so many other news with China. And from the Canadian perspective, I checked like 4 different videos on our economic problems for different videos on our specific Canadian problems, and some are very hardcore and very quite pessimistic and dark. But it's a worst case scenario. It's a question: is the Canadian economy collapsing? It's certainly, I warned about 3.5 years ago, starting that because of the COVID protocols. Since about 2022. Since about September 2022, I sounded the alarm and I warned that due to the COVID protocols and our inaction, of course, vis-a-vis the programs which are implemented, that there's going to be a problem to pay the interest on the debts. So that was the warning there. I said, I have it on proof, I have it on the mountain, I discuss it often. So of course, that is just the consequential appellation what we got. Look at those beauties. Aren't they just super nice? Well, that's super cool. And by the way, all the electricity here is clean, zero pollution. It does not pollute, It does not pollute, the electricity here. It does not pollute. It is clean, zero pollution, zero emission electricity. It does not pollute. Well, a little bit, but not much, because it's all water, by the way. So go Hydro-Quebec, go. But nonetheless, I was back to what I said, because just about last month, the PBO, the Parliamentary Budget Officer, had warned Canadians that basically if we don't change, we're done. And now we have the added pressure of the tariffs. And let's be honest, 1, 2, 3, 4 arrows that way, and 1 that way. Interesting. Another one pointed that way. So 4 and 2 to the side. Oh, in 2 weeks, exactly, it's Halloween. Halloween. I love Halloween. I'm gonna wear I get dressed up every year, but improvise. I'm not gonna spend money unless I saw it was a pack of teeth for like $1.50. $1.50. Pack of teeth. And I think there were several inside the pack, so I don't know, maybe teeth. Dracula's teeth. Vampire. And whenever I see Dracula, I get flashes of reincarnations. Sometimes in my past lives, previous incarnations, I was born a man, a woman, a man, a man, a woman, a man, man, a woman, woman, a man, man, a woman, woman, man, man, a woman, woman, man, man, a woman, woman, a man, man, a woman, woman, a man, man, a woman, woman, until you get that 50-50 today. Born in the USA 3 times, once as a woman, twice as a man, in the post 70-76. Served in the same United States Armed Forces twice. You gotta read George Patton Through a Glass Darkly. George Patton Through a Glass Darkly, that was one of my favorite poem of all times. It's called Through a Glass Darkly. George Patton wrote it, and there he believes he knew his reincarnation, some of them not all, and of course he also believed in reincarnations like myself. We kind of share the same quasi-spiritual, quasi-mystic, quasi-spiritual, quasi-mystic belief, and that's how we got quasi-mystic, quasi-spiritual belief. So of course, all that to say, in the position now, that he didn't mention that he was my wife. Once it was my wife, and I was his wife, so we were both husband and wife and husband. 2 different incarnations. One time I was his wife, and one time he was my wife, and one time I was his husband, and one time he was my husband. And one time we struck each other in battle, but we both survived in the adversarial opposing armies. More than 3,000 years ago. Reincarnations aside, I had warned about the coming storm in many ways. And the PBO, Parliamentary Budget Officer of Canada, just about 3 weeks ago, exactly, I don't know the exact amount of time that has passed, but he was interviewed a few weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. He had sounded the alarm as well, said that because we pay too much interest on the debt, in the billions, 50 billions, and that's the problem. That's why my DRT is the solution. You can argue all you want, but the DRT, debt refugee, and then to standardize and put all officiate and interest levels at 10% thereafter, to make a new financial compromise. It could be established worldwide to save us from international Armageddon. The DRT, the debt refusion theory, of course, has to be consequently appellated. Look at those, beautiful. I love those. Isn't that super cool? Thank you. Really love it. Just the lights. There's lights from like the rainbow lights. So I love lights in particular like that. They kind of look like snakes, and there's white and red and green and blue and orange and yellow and different type of orange, and isn't that super cool? I never saw that before, how it goes. See, it just goes one direction, but it's super cool. Looks like a club lights. I never seen anything like that before. Look at that. Just keep going like water. See? Like snakes. Kind of look like snakes, eh? Oh, they move up and down like waves. They look like waves and snakes. Snakes and waves. Really nice. Wavy snakes. Anyways, so now we're gonna head east. We're going east now. East, in the east direction. So we're gonna head into the direction of the east, and that's what we're gonna have, of course, to be consequently what we got now to discuss the situation, the financial situation. I wonder how are they here in the elements of the concrete jungle, how are their financial situation and their rents going? Because rents have went up. My rent went up also. I'm not gonna say by how much, but I'm just gonna say between 6 and 10 for me. Between 6 and 10, and please, if you hear the sirens of the ambulance, of the police, of the firefighters, get out of the way, get out of the way, and do the Imperial Integrated Citizen Defense Protocol. You gotta turn your heads left and right, to the left, and to the right. So 180 to the left, 180 to the right. There's the full circle citizen, Imperial Citizen Security Protocol when you're in the Publik for the Empire coming of the 63. Let our Empire rise and be. Pledge your allegiance and gonna get the rebirth, regeneration here as I'm on my 4th rebirth, and this is kind of the street which kind of separates between my old neighborhood on that side there, further east and further north, and then from now where I live, further west and south. And so that is just kind of the street that kind of separates at the point there, further down, between my old neighborhood and my new neighborhood, and nothing that I will to go back to what I was saying economically, financially, that I warned. I have it on video. I was recording, I was marching, I was discussing the fact that the programs implemented during COVID are going to have an added stress. So this added stress is going to consequently add an added stress, and this stress is going to be problematic in the coming years. And now, just I believe 3 weeks ago, or even a month ago, 4 weeks ago, maybe it has been 4 weeks already, the PBO, the Parliamentary Budget Officer, has warned us, and the words he used are, if we don't change, we're done. Because of the added stress, the debt burden, the majority of Canadians and my brothers and sisters in the 50 states, consequently this applies. It's too much household debt. The stagnation of the salaries vis-a-vis the cost of living. Like yesterday, I was joyous for the relief in the terms of gas consumption. As I recheck my video and say that I celebrate the gas relief efforts, and I said, hey, they're doing a little bit of that good for them, and then when I got back home, I saw that it was actually a mistake, or they went back up, either a mistake or it went back up to 150 from 140, because I guess it only went down 1 cent, not 11. So I guess I had to readjust and change because it wasn't indicating correctly the gas price at the corner gas station, And in average, all the gas prices went up about 75% average. That means that people pay for the same distance 75% more. So for every dollar before and early 2020 and before March 2020, the gas cost less, right, than it does now by about 75% average. So that's a lot. And I looking at this bridge here, we have to mass invest in the infrastructure. We got to mass invest in the infrastructure, mass infrastructure rehabilitation, and I will, of course, to paint here. It'd be nice to put some blue paint, some red paint, some yellow paint, some orange paint. It's so gray, every time I pass here, you got that gray zone, and you got it on the go, and you got it on the left, and you got it in the right, and you got it in the middle, and you got it on the appellation, and you got it now for the left or right, and you got it now to be on the left. Stay on the right. Try to stay on the right, just like driving, on the right and on the left, just like when you drive, Go best. And don't pass with bikes here. Sometimes just stop here. The other day I was hearing somebody was passing with the bikes. Just pause, It would be best if you pause there. And because I got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations myself in the public, you know, for my fellow citizens and others. But this bridge has to be rebuilt. You see how massive infrastructure across the North American Collective. We got so much work to do, brothers and sisters. We got so much work to do. We got so much work to do. We got so much work to do. Wow, this is dangerous even, eh? I'm a bit concerned about the safety now that I inspected a bit. I'm not an expert, but you know what I mean? It's just our infrastructure. We have to mass invest in our North American collective infrastructure because we constitute the North American collective civilizational complex, you know. We constitute the North American civilizational complex, and that North American civilizational complex we have to constitute it internally and of course in the domain where we have now to be confluent about that. We gotta get it on that drill now. So we gotta get it on that drill, of course, for the left and for the right and for the butchers and for the bakers and the nurses, the doctors, firefighters, and give me the tools and the permission and I'll put some good paint there. Just some blue, some purple, some yellow, some orange, and all those, of course, what we got there in our heads left and right here, because you gotta get that corner, and we got added responsibilities, duties, and obligations in the public. All of this is in one way in theory here, see, but they could not know, and they could just turn without knowing that they can't turn here, and you're in added danger because some people might not know. They might be new in town or just passing by, tourists or just visitors, and gotta do it for myself and for the others as well. Cool. Is that Harry Potter? I'm not sure. Is it? Question to the publica respublicas. As we go to the mountain, rock and roll, to get a little bit of that Latin rock and roll for the firefighters, bakers, butchers, nurses, doctors, the electricians, for the nurses finishing a 12-hour shift now. They need a massage therapy session more than me, and they deserve it more than me. I'm just a financially struggling artist and athlete, philosopher who's got trillions of kisses. I got it, goddess it, goddess, God got a goddess, eh? So it's God bless our coming of our empire, and goddess kiss. Either trillions of kisses, of course, where we got now to be. Trillions of kisses, of course, in the rock and roll to be now, of course, in the domains where we got, of course, to be consequentially, and of course, all those appellatives domains where we are individual sovereign citizens, and of course we got the individual sovereign citizens, and then we got the collective. So we got, of course, the collective representation where we have now to be, of course, in all the domains, and of course we got to get on that brutal side of things. So that's just something what we have to do now, of course, in all the consequential operations of where we establish ourselves in the sovereign domain where we have now to be, in all the lyrics and the rock and roll and all the state apparatuses which encompass the major rebalancing of the public and the private. Oh, I got 4 seconds of the public and the private. I got 4 seconds. And just in time, eh? Gotta get that just in time, you know, so gotta get that rock and roll. And here's the bonjour high of voting going on, and that's the voting going on for the left, for the right, and in the middle, and all that appellation where we got now to be discordant about, and to get a little bit of that drill, man, you know. It's something what we have to meditate about, all the privilege of civilization also sometimes, because civilization is a privilege. All having electricity, running water, the aqueducts, the sewers, sanitation. Imagine all the decades of building aqueducts underneath the city, man. Public works, we got mass public works to do. We got mass public works to do, you know. Got lots of Arbeit. Lots of Arbeit. That's German for work. I'm not wearing the German hat today, but I know a little bit of German. I don't know how I know it, but linguistic capabilities and mathematical capabilities, you don't lose with the retrograde amnesia. With amnesia, you don't lose. The memories are not stored in the same place as mathematical skills. So I am above average in mathematics. Many Aspies actually are, but again, not all Aspies are good at computer science. 1 out of 5 are, you know, 1 out of 5, and of course, 1 out of 5 are, of course, the domains and the networks where we got, of course, to be and to be propositioned about, you know, the left and right circumference where we are now, in all the domains, you know. So there's just something where we have to be confirming about, in all the relationships where we are now, and all the domains where we got inferent, that we got 24/7 transmission of the satellites. In a parallel life, I build satellites, I build supercomputers, design microchips, telecommunications. I am in the year of darkness 2029, and in the year of darkness 2029, of course, it's a parallel, of course, activity, of course, of that 2029 activities in that parallel life where I build, design supercomputers, satellites, microchips, code, design antennas, cyborgs, cybernetics, and I'm a super scientist. I also have Asperger's. I also struggle a lot. So in that life also, until I struggled a lot. So I was unemployed and lonely and isolated and losing friends, because I struggled with autism in that life as I struggle in this life as well, and I have been for years. But it's been better and better and better and better every year for the past 2.5 years, since it's about that time that I said yes. I have a HFA, Asperger's, and I'm not gonna wear the stigma about it. I'm gonna be working on it, and thanks to my anonymous beautiful flowers. Gonna smell. Got some smell, beautiful yellow of those yellow flowers. It's embellishing my march, going east, coming from the west, going east. Because me, for years and years, Ace, for about 9-10 years even, I've been told and semi-officially diagnosed that, you have Asperger's, you have autism, you're on the spectrum, and that's why you have certain difficulties in social interactions and such, and those are the problematics which you encounter on a daily basis and on a long-term basis, on a short, medium term, to keep employment or unemployment. And you see the world differently because your brain has these mutations, and again, we don't know what causes really. The theory behind it's a theory, it's not a reality, but there might be something there. I don't know, I cannot pronounce myself fully on that yet. I still say that Asperger's, HFA, and autism is generally caused by either a combination or one of the factors which are environmental, biological, or genetic. We don't know. We do know that many Aspies, people with Asperger's, HFA, and autism struggle with certain social understandings and can excel paradoxically in mathematics, science, computer science, and fields of interest which are known as special interests, which Aspies have to be supported in those special interests as much as one can. I understand the family support sometimes can be difficult financially to even, get that going with that and support it fully. Me, my Trinity has been for years and years of special interest, the Holy Trinity, and that's pretty much 24/7 sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, sports and fitness, and of course rock and roll, sports and fitness, geopolitics. And I always say, just like money never sleeps, the expression money never sleeps, well, geopolitics neither. Also geopolitics, 3 things never sleep, in a matter of fact. Geopolitics never sleeps, money never sleeps, and the sun always rises and always sets. Because now, as the sun sets here, we got those time zones on the west coast. In San Francisco, there's a time zone. We got 3 hours differential with Vancouver, BC, British Columbia, and Vancouver. We got those 3 hours of different time zones. And of course, we got the sun rising in the east, in Asia, China, Japan, North and South Korea, and of course, Australia. The sun is rising in Australia. There's a sunrise in India, Australia, all those in those parts of the world, and now the sun is rising. So they're going on their weekend Saturday, so they have some drill there to go do with that. So that is their reality now, that the sun is rising. As the sun is setting here, over there the sun is rising, and those are realities which, of course, they're diplomats, they're politicians, they're armies, they're state affairs, they're Ministry of Security Service. I'm just making a reference to Minister of Social Security in China, of course, but they're ministries of Social Security. They're, of course, doing that drill, and they're, of course, engaged in their operations, and of course all those things which we have, of course, to see. It's all those domains with which we are explained about to be, that the sun is rising now. So the sun is rising in Asia, over countries in Asia. So that's meaning that there's, although it's the Saturday, is the weekend, there's still geopolitical matters unfolding. There's still geopolitics unfolding, right? Geopolitics never sleeps, just like the sun never sleeps. So that's just the reality of that particular universal truth about geopolitics, which is always international, universal, and always universal, always international, always occurring at some levels, not all levels, at more harm than others or more important in nature than others, but it is a constant, you know. There's meetings occurring between leaders of different nation states, and you know, we have more than 156 now, about close to 200 now, sovereign nation states, some smaller, medium, and bigger. Than we got the superpowers, or the emerging powers, as I like to call now. I'm gonna start designated, and I have been designating China since their military parade, and as a superpower, in their own paradoxical social marks as well. And of course, I know the philosophies, the ideologies very well, and if you want to discuss China, we gotta start by you or whoever you are to do some reading, and if you have not or are not familiar with the volumes, at least the first 4 volumes, which started being published in 2012 when Xi Jinping took power in office, called The Governance of China. The Xi Jinping taught theories, protocols based on the works of Mao Zedong and what they call China socialism with Chinese characteristics. But in their ideologies, and even there in The Governance of China, China also makes reference to Mao Zedong still. There's still reference to Mao, of course, to Mao Zedong, the founder of the People's Republic of China, because it's still a one-party state, and of course the Mao Zedong, and of course the other one is Karl Marx. Karl Marx is still mentioned. Karl Marx. And because they're giants of socialism, communism, revolutionaries. One question I got from Mike Tyson. See, it's 151.9, so I think they had to adjust in my corner. They made the mistake of putting it. It's the same it was 4 days ago, so it didn't go now. So I'm curious how come Mike Tyson has both Che Guevara and Mao Zedong tattooed. Mao Zedong and Che Guevara, they're socialist, communist leaders. And I believe I saw about 3.5 years ago, I was looking for boxing, and there's in the 90s, before, of course, he made, of course, for a fight, $a few million. Mike Tyson made $a few million. Mike Tyson made $a few million in a fight. And I believe it was the CNN interviewer, famous Larry King, I believe. Larry King. Yeah, Larry King Live. And he got interviewed, and he said, Mike Tyson responded that he's a socialist. And I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, don't put words in mine, but there was an interview, and he kind of interviewed Mike Tyson, Larry King, and said, well, how can you be like a socialist? Because asked about the tats, which is Mao Zedong and Che Guevara, Mao Zedong and Che Guevara. So of course Che Guevara and Mao Zedong, you've asked about those stats, and Che Guevara and Mao Zedong are giants of communism and socialism. So when he got asked, and then Larry King responded, well, you know, socialists don't make $30 million a night, Mike, because he was going to make that night, evening when he fought. I think it was fighting Evander Holyfield or somebody else in the 90s. Got to check exactly, double check, because I'm not sure about who he was fighting. It was on Larry King Live, and of course he was on Larry King Live, and he got interviewed. So he said, yes, but of course you don't make 30 million a year, you know, 30 millions a year. So you don't make 30 million a year. Said, you don't know how much socialists are making, but 30 million a year, of course, it is consequential where we have now to be. Imagine that, just for a night, for a fight, basically, right? But some athletes make that, eh? So the owners and the players. Some athletes make that. Please, if you're an athlete, but also the owners, eh? The owners of the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB. Of the 4 patriarchal sports, please also give to women's sports league. If I would have money, I would definitely buy now tickets for the season. PVHL is about to start, Professional Women's Hockey League, and Victory here in Montreal. They're going to expand, thank God is for that, expand through 2 teams. They're going to expand to they're gonna expand to the west. To the west. They're gonna expand to the west with 2 teams in both Seattle and Vancouver. Right, Vancouver and Seattle, expansionist teams. So they're going from 6. They founded the PVHL a few years ago, 3 years ago, just like the original 6 for the NHL. They founded their original 6, and I gotta say that they play as good as the men. The PVHL, the women play as good as the men, no doubt about it. I mean, you can't say nothing. Nobody dances like me. I mean, some people do, but very rare. You know, dancing is my favorite sport, and there's of course just what we have to do now. So of course, all that to say now, maybe somebody left me some Tim Hortons. No, so please don't leave that trash there. Gotta put it in the trash, or in the recycling. Just don't leave trash, because you never know, there might be some kids, you know. We got public workers, so trash is good. Just trash it. See, you got trash there on the side. Actually, I'm gonna go to the next one, the public. So make sure that you trash it out, you know. The coffee, if you don't drink it, you can just pour it on the ground, you know. It's a waste of coffee, but don't leave it there, you know. Some kid might swallow it, and this has to be recycled away. So, and don't leave trash, you know, in the garbage or anything like that. I was curious because last time I found in the box there were 4 Timbits. Somebody that didn't eat them all, and there were like 4 Timbits, you know. So 4 Timbits. So I ate them. I'm not gonna let the waste Timbits, you know. I smelled them and inspected them, and said they're hopefully not laced with anything, you know. And I don't do drugs. I still have, actually, from 3.5 years ago. But back to finish, what I wanted to say is that before, of course, that category, of course, of me saying that, of course, what I was gonna say, of course, that Mike Tyson was asked by Larry King or something like, you know, because he was about to make like 30 million for that evening, a fight. So Larry King said, well, you know, socialists don't make $30 million a night, Mike. And then he said, well, I don't know how much socialists make. Something like, it was kind of funny, you know, kind of funny in a way, you know. So that's what it is with that rock and roll, and of course all the developmental appellations, of course, where we are now, to be realistic about in all the domains where we manifest ourselves to be, with a little bit of arbeit, a little bit of work here in the domain where we have. And of course, I love boxing, but you know what is my favorite sport? Dancing, get that priestess kisses and marching 300 steps. But I've been challenging Donald Trump is first on the list. You can wait in line, you know. I've been challenging Donald Trump since 2018, because that was Granddaddy Trump. Message to my Granddaddy Trump: you made the mistake to impose tariffs on Canadian aluminum steel. You know, I would have voted you, my Granddaddy Trump, but I would have voted for Biden. But the problem is, Granddaddy Trump, that you don't have good advisor in geopolitics. They might know the system, the left and the right and the center, and myself being a pro-labor and love universal revolutionary centrist, but they don't know geopolitics. You might know, Elon Musk might know more computer science and PayPal, and of course satellites, computer science and things of that nature, but they don't know geopolitics. I know geopolitics. I live geopolitics. I breathe geopolitics. Geopolitics is part of me, paradoxically, because of my autism, Asperger's, HFA, because we have special interests, and those special interests, also known as obsessive interests, preoccupy our whole life and routine, sometimes with intensity, super concentration, super dedication. And that's what I do 24/7. The study, the analysis of geopolitics. And I am an independent geopolitical theoretical analyst, theorist, thinker, and strategist. I develop strategies for the North American Collectif. So all that to say, in the sufficient aspects and the parallel, before I digressed, that we're going to explain a little bit about autism and Asperger's circumstantially, that Asperger's, again, is not a mental illness and it's not a disease. That's where we have to draw the line, you know. That's where we have to draw the line. And I remember as I A few years ago, I was working. I had several jobs, but the problem with Asperger's, people with autism and HFA, is that we tend to lose them after like 4 months, 4 weeks, 4 days, 4 hours, you know, because we're different. And this difference sometimes shows the way we interact. We see the world differently, and sometimes the conversations, the social interactions, say, that was very weird. That was very strange. The conversation can appear. It takes some patience and effort to understand, you know. It takes some patience and effort to understand. It takes some patience and effort to understand. You know, it takes some patience and effort to understand. And sometimes it can be painful, a painful process of building those bridges, because bridges, there's a gap. Right, that bridges, I don't require much support, I require understanding, because I live for today. I live freely, but with the responsibilities and duties and obligations, because I don't like violence, myself. I don't like violence. I'm intense, concentrated. I know my geopolitics. I know that violence and warfare exists as part of the human nature, humankind. And I predicted, actually, in 2019, October 17th, I started my predictions and I put them online. So thus I have the proof for what consequently I'm going to discuss about in a few minutes. That I predicted that there was going to be an international conflagration. And of course, all that international conflagration where we have now to be developed, of course, in the relationships where we are to be advised in the future and living for today. Since I died of COVID in 2020, because I died during COVID, it was like death, pestilence, and disease. You know, it was like death, pestilence, and disease. So I thought I was going to die. In many ways, I did die, but that's just my rebirth. I guess it's my 4th rebirth in the past 11 years and a half. Gotta credit that goddess for surviving being depressed and suicidal. What got me out of depression was crossing Canada coast to coast in 2017. That's why I have been continuing to advocate for the Imperium cross, for the 63, for the Imperial mass financing of tourism across Canada, United States, to establish a strong esprit de corps and to have citizens, of course, to be, for the rapport that there is thereof incremented, and consequently be for the left and right and in the middle, and all the relationships where we have now, you know, to be congruent and to be aspects of what we live with and aspects of what we are, and the fellowships of the aspects of our coming of our total estate of the SSDL of the 63, as we're going to get rid of the border and we're going to get that total security, service and defense apparatus, and we're going to move for the total world peace in the coming days, weeks and months and years ahead, for the great work, as I'm calling all to the mountain, for the December 24th, 25th special summit to start the Dragon Septennium. So it's going to be Trump, Carney, and Carney Trump's Dragon Summit, and all the leaders of NATO, because my theories, my philosophies are first and foremost principally for the North American Collective, for North American Collective, Canada, United States, and extending furthermore to the NATO complex. So that being having said, and having been established, and having been consequentially on the side of the left and the right apparatus where we are now, it's of course my joy to march and work out as I feel good, and I stretch a little bit to the left, right. I imagine a bit of that dance moves, because dancing is my favorite sport, but a little bit of boxing and lots of mathematics now. There's always some math calculating in the background, estimations, percentages of their distance, of the fact that these cars, most of these cars, if they're not electric or hybrid, they eat money now. They're eating money. They're not eating money literally, but they're basically consuming gas. And by consuming gas, they are spending money. In generally, about 75% more money it costs for the same distance. That's basically the financial mathematical equation. For the same distance, it costs about 75% more. So of course, all those calculations related to be as the individual, of course, sovereign, and the collective where we are now interdependently and prudently, of course, to be now consequently, and of course, establishing ourselves in those domains where we are, of course, now to be on the left and on the right, and in the matter, of course, where we are now to be translucent and transposed, and of course, all the civilizational affairs, such as the fact that they're going on strike about for the second strike just 2 weeks ago. The strike ended just 2 weeks ago because they requested 25% increase of salaries over 5 years. That's divided by 5. That is. See, it says USA ban, see? That's made in the USA. That's why we need to fuse and get rid of the border. Confused, but we're not gonna annex. The United States is not gonna annex us. We're gonna fuse. We're gonna fuse like brother and sister, like a family with a diverse family. The true north, strong and free. Gonna add some insurance of liberty and joy, and some love, because the true north, strong and free, with the land of the free and the home of the brave, also needs some loving and some good charity and some rebalancing of the PPP, public-private partnership. Calls the North American Collectif a mass public-private partnership. First to be now, just gonna check a little bit of prices here.
That one is just about that one.
No, it was more south.
You don't have the big cakes, the big poppy cakes? A big roll, coffee roll cakes. They're like a roll, a roll. A roll. No? Okay, thank you.
Coffee cake?
A poppy cake. Oh yeah, something like this, yeah. But it's poppy, you know? It's poppy. Yeah, this, exactly, something like this, yeah.
That's all we have.
That's all you have? How much is this? $30? Oh yeah, see, this one was like, you have different ones, but the poppy one. Thank you, bye-bye.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that was too expensive for me. 29 too expensive. Probably said, who's this weirdo? Yeah, we can be weird, awkward, and bizarre and strange. It's poppy, you know? Because sometimes I get it for $6.99 and it's like a 550 grams. I know it's specifics. We're weird ass pieces. The price and the 550 grams. Well, it's important because if it's not 325 grams, it's 550, which 550 grams minus 325, it's 225 grams difference. So if it's the same price, that means that basically it's more expensive per gram, per 100 grams. Follow? Mathematics. Yeah, I calculated that cake. That cake was $29.99. So that cake I totally said no, because for that same $29.99 I could get 4 cakes like that. But there might be just 3, because if they're $9.99, but then for $9.99 I get the one that's a kilo of poppy seeds. You know, poppy seeds. I was looking for poppy seeds roll, like a roll. I know where to find it, because Montreal I buy sometimes, but they didn't have it. That other the good things, and nonetheless, if you like, it's good things, and I would have. That's the $10 I wanted to spend on the poppy seeds. Poppy seeds. The poppy seed cake. It's very good. Sometimes it's poppy seeds, but it's actually okay. So it's actually poppy seeds and chocolate. So it's poppy seeds. They're crushed. The poppy seeds crushed with the chocolate, and of course that is the cake. So that's basically what it is. But I don't have that one, you know, so whatever. So back to what I was saying, of course, that I'm going to take a few minutes on Asperger's and HFA, high functioning autism, and just triangulate with that and just drill it in, and just we have to start and say that it's not a disease. I remember people were whispering in French when I was working, and they said, of course, that it's of course a disease, and they said in French, oh, c'est une maladie, so that's a disease. It's not a disease, it's just, see, because I was working there for only a few days, a few weeks, it's a superficial understanding, right? It's a superficial understanding of Asperger's, what Asperger's is, and sometimes it requires more patience to fully understand and to see that Aspies have our weaknesses indeed, where even myself, I gotta give a thank you to my anonymous friend for the 2 books gifted on autism, which have some chapters on Asperger's, and of course the general fact that they have some on Asperger's. They have a little bit of chapters on Asperger's, which are valuable for me for my case, because Asperger's and HFA are the same. But of course the other ones, of course, where are to be is that the book, which was loaned 4 times from a library, because it was a library loan, it was loaned by my friend 4 times. Thank you. It's called Appreciating Asperger Syndrome. That's the title, Appreciating Asperger Syndrome. So, because you can actually learn to love and appreciate it. Aspies. For example, some people say, oh, well, you don't have compassion or empathy. No, we do. It's just that we show it by action, or by doing acts of goodness and kindness by action, rather than verbal consolation. Verbal consolation, we have to be told, you made me feel this way, and I don't like how you speak like that. Can you speak in another way, or differently? And we have to be told, because we might not know social cues and the social dynamics, the social cues. We might not pick them up. I'm getting better and better. But of course, I cannot pick them up, I cannot pick them up. It's just, of course, the correlation where we are now, of course, to be in the dynamics, of course, to be now. So it's just the fact that I cannot. Aspies, we have trouble with the social unwritten norms and social communication and things of that nature. We can have clumsiness, and we have these characteristics and traits. I don't use the word symptoms. I don't object to people who use the word symptoms, but I prefer using the word characteristics and traits, which can be very odd, weird, bizarre, strange and odd and bizarre and awkward from the neurotypical perspective. From a neurotypical perspective, right? From not understanding what Asperger's is, you might say, that's a disease, or that's very superficially. So of course, all that dynamic is to say now that is those categories, of course, what we are to be related now, to have accepted and integrated and absorbed all the pain, the suffering, and part of it was due to Asperger's and I guess autism, HFA, and not just myself, but as a community, although we're a tiny minority, the unemployment level being that it's more than 80%, you realize how horrible that is, right? Unemployment, it's 80%. There has been a lot of progress in the 21st century. There still is in the 20th century. So we have our strengths. We can be, Aspies generally are above average level intelligence, linguistic intelligence and mathematical intelligence. So we can excel in our special interests. My holy trinity of special interests has been, is, and for years and years and years and years, it's sports and fitness. Dancing is my favorite sport, and I love working out, training, exercising. Ever since I crossed Canada coast to coast, I started my fitness journey 8 years ago. I always begin it every day, and of course, it always begins every day. But I started after I got out of depression. I lost between 80 and 93 pounds. I lost a lot of weight, between 80 and 93 pounds. And rock and roll is also my special interest. I create song lyrics, linguistically, rhythmically, and creatively, I guess, because I'm an artist, athlete, double AA, whatever, in whatever position you point, athletic artist or a artist athlete, independent peoples for the firefighters, butchers, bakers, nurses, teachers, and plumbers, welders, construction workers. And parallel, of course, to that is the preposition of being a mystic. I believe in reincarnations. That's why I was born in many past lives, a man, a woman, a woman, man, man, a woman, woman, a man, man, a woman, man, man, a woman, man. Because now you get that 50-50 even here on the island. I was born as a woman between 1688 and circa 1735, and in the year of darkness, it is the year 2029, where I build, create super satellites, telecommunications, gadgets, and this is the month of December 2029, the year of darkness 2029, my parallel life. And in that parallel life, of course, I design, build super satellites, supercomputers, and ICBM rockets, all things to do with computers. And I guess fourth dimension to that trinity, I do have a weird sexuality, but for that one you have to be 18 plus, 18 plus. If you're black, you're white, you're rainbow, you're a man, you're a woman, a man, or a man or a woman, you're black, you're white, or rainbow. Well, I could use some friends with benefits or parallel. Pledge your allegiance. Thou art family, that's the song. I'm gonna drill it till the end. Pledge your allegiance, thou art family. Support my dream, the dancing goddess and the dragon kingdom, which is fundamentally a dream for a public-private partnership across the North American Collective Civilizational Complex, a PPP. Publik, public-private partnership, a PPP, a strong public-private partnership in order to fuse Canada and the United States. I'm going to get into that. I'm just going to finish a little bit on Asperger's, autism. So it's not a disease, you know. It's not a disease, you know. Not a disease. It's not a disease. So it's a neurological mental divergent condition. It makes one, of course, predisposed to these special interests. So these special interests preoccupy most of our life, most of our daily routines and habits, and we have these ritual-like routines, eh? We have ritual-like routines, and thank you, my anonymous friend, for getting the washer and the dryer. And before I used to come here, rare here, but I used to go mostly to the other one on the other side just a few years ago, and got the washer and the dryer about 3.5 years ago. So that's always something which I gotta say salutations to my anonymous friend. She's the one who plugged it well, better than the man who fixed it, I gotta say. And she plugged it, and we have a washer and a dryer, so I saved some money with that, and I gotta be grateful for that. I paid my rent, you know, paid my rent. Month of October, it's October 17, 2 more weeks to go. Paid my rent, paid my electricity bill, paid my Netflix, and fourth bill, I got 4 days. I got until Tuesday, because I got another notice today that if not, they're gonna suspend it and I'm gonna be penalized even more. So I'm gonna have to just try to go pay it all in the coming 4 days, I guess today, by Tuesday. So today's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe I'll go Monday. I'll try to go Monday. So that is just something where we have, of course, to be, of course, in the counterposition, of course, of being, of course, the supplementarity, of course, of where we are now, in their position, of course, where we have to be soluble about, and that is just something which we have, of course, to be now interdependent about all the circumstances where we are, of course, now, of the relationships of we are now, and that is something where we have to go on the left, on the right, and in the middle, and all the circumferential, of course, oppositions where we are now, to be circumferential about, and hold the domains where we got them now inside the domains where we are now, to get it on the go and be circumferential about. We'll be circumferential about in all those affairs where we are now. It is something which we have now to be on the domain, of course, where we have the representative facts and the regurgitation, of course, of our Imperial Republic coming under 63, let it be, let it rise. And that's just the domains, you know, of living as a neurodivergence. And this neurodivergent domain we have now to be to envision and to be living, of course, with a certain relative awareness and the intention to build bridges, right? To build bridges. Because, of course, we have to build bridges, and those bridges have to be built. And consequently, of course, the bridges sometimes require more effort. They have to be, of course, different sizes. Of course, different sizes of the bridges. And, of course, those bridges are now in the circumferential aspects where we are now to be. So, of course, all those domains where we are now are, of course, circumposition where we are now to be the domains, you know. So now, that's stated, and we know that it's not a disease. We have to focus on building bridges. And those bridges, sometimes they're small bridges, sometimes they're medium bridges, large, extra large. Those 4 categories, right? Medium, large, extra large. Just like when you order a coffee, pizza, or fries. Pizza, fries, coffee, you might order a small cup of coffee, fries, or pizza. You might order a medium pizza, fries, or cup of coffee. You might order a large pizza, coffee, or fry. You might order extra large coffee, pizza, or fry. Whatever your budget is that particular day, or how many people for the pizzas and the fries, you know. X, Y, Z, all those other variables. The constant is that we have to build bridges with neurotypicals. And those bridges sometimes require more effort than with other people's, right? More effort, depending, you know. Depending on, but generally within those 4 categories, We gotta get that total security, service, and defense. Dragon Army, pledge your allegiance, integrated with all existing security institutions. Gotta get it for the left, for the right, and in the middle, of course. All those appletives where we are now, in all the domains, and that's just the gas here since 151. So about February, it was 93 cents. February 2020, 93 cents. February 2020 was 93 cents. So of course that is just what it is with that, and that's just what we have to be doing like that. So all of course the domains now what we have is something which we have now. So all the domains where you gotta press, maybe it's this one sometimes, maybe it's the other one, maybe it's that one. Oh, that's what we have to do, you know, something which we gotta be appellative about. Now we got those two sides, see, on both sides. So now to calculate how many steps for every second, you're gonna have to calculate mathematically the velocity. But it's not really required if you got so many seconds. But it would be required if you would get only 6 seconds left. Velocity, you know, the velocity is the distance and the speed, and that's a process that happens actually in my mind. I kind of calculate the yards and the second, you know. Asperger's can be weird, awkward, strange, bizarre. Say, what do you mean? Well, let me explain. So for example, that there's a countdown, the seconds are going down. Let's say it starts at 20 and you got 15 yards, yeah, it's like a first down. So if you take 3 steps every second, 1, 2, 3 per a second, that means that you kind of cover a yard and a half, right? So the yards that you have to cover from point to get safely by the time that you're allocated, the allocation of the time, that's basically velocity. I don't want to go too technical, scientific about it, but that happens in my brain, you know. And the process is, this is just mathematics as relates to distance and speed. You might need it more advanced to calculate elliptic, because orbits are in an ellipse, right? And the seconds and the minutes and the hours for rotation, right? Sunset and sunrise, right? A day, 24 hours. It's actually 23 hours and 59 minutes and some seconds, right? 58 minutes and some seconds, if you are to be precise. But we round it up to 24 hours. Time, you know, and timekeeping. Ancient Egypt had different time sequences, and ancient Sumeria, ancient Babylon, ancient Romans. Pretty much we kind of use the Roman more or less, the 12 months, which were named after pretty much the Roman gods. We still have in many ways. If you think about February, right, and March, right, January, Janus, Demeter, December, all that. Yeah, it's they're still here. It's the motto of Montreal is still Latin, right? It's still Latin. It's Concordia Salus. So we have those realities of today. Anyway, so yeah, Asperger's can be really weird, really awkward, really strange, really bizarre at first, but once you get to understand it and see as we see the world and how we engage in the world, that's why we tend to lose a lot of jobs sometimes just after 4 hours and 4 days, 4 weeks, 4 months. 4 months, that was my record, I guess. That was my record, I guess, in the past 11 years. But I had many jobs, just losing them, you know, because we're different, and the difference makes us also vulnerable, because certain things we have trouble understanding fully, you know, from a neurotypical perspective. So that's why I gotta give a shout out, thank you to my anonymous friend for that book called Appreciating Asperger's Syndrome, which opened my eyes relatively, of course, to my own vulnerabilities as an N.A.C.W.P, how not grasping certain things, fully understanding certain dynamics of the hive mind, group mind, and you know, of that perspective, that it could leave us vulnerable to certain abuse and misunderstanding and closed doors, and make us lose jobs, you know, losing jobs, losing employment. That's a very factor. Losing friends, losing friends and high depression and suicidal rates, very high, 9 times higher. So I'm gonna close it now on Asperger's and just say, hey, that's beautiful. That's really talented. Now, see, this I would love to see financed across North American Collective. Love to see art like this finance across the North American Collectif. Gorgeous. You have talent, whoever you did it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. So I can sing rock and roll and create lyrics, but that I cannot do. So as we have strengths, we got to build bridges, and those bridges have to be built together in concomitant representation and representatives where we got now to build those 4 category bridges: small, medium, large, extra large. So we have to build the bridges. We have to build the bridges. I don't have antagonistic, resentful feelings, because myself, it took me years and years and years and years and years to accept it, to finally say yes. Because for years and years and years, I've been told and semi-officially diagnosed by several people, individuals, say, yeah, you know you have Asperger's, you have trouble with certain things, and you don't see the world the same as the majority of the people, the 99% of the population. You see the world differently, and thus your interactions with the world are divergent. And you are divergent. You see the world differently. That's why it's more difficult for you, of course, to say, of course, all the relationship where we are now, to be loving on the side of the election and the right. So that's how we have to be now. That's how we gotta get doing on that, and that's how we gotta get on that drill for that, you know. But I am curious. Of course, I'm a loving, kind person, with that, and all those loving kindnesses, of course, to be now in the circumstantial position where we are now, is all the dynamics where we got now to be, you know. So that's all we have to be doing. So all those, of course, to be said, that we're gonna cross the street safely here, spread, of course, those wings, and fly. And that's just what we gotta be doing now. Here we go, right on the island of the Hawk, H-A-W-K, Hawk Island, surrounded by a big river, and financially stressed, but joyous, independent, aspie, artist, athlete, androgynous ass, because I'm 50-50 with that rock and roll. And saw some youth, 4 youth there, being happy, going to get some pizza, and joyous, giggling a bit, their safety, their liberty, their joy, and my joy as well. So I guess we're gonna till the end with imperial protocols which we're gonna implement. We're gonna fuse kind of the United States my way into finalizing on Asperger's, the 4 problems, and then we're gonna move into geopolitics. 4 main problems are: we have problems maintaining friends. Long-term friends is a problem for Aspies. Maintaining long-term friendships. That's why the solution for me is friends with benefits only. Don't waste my time, I won't waste yours. Friends with benefits only. Friends with benefits only, or pledge your allegiance. Friends with benefits only, or of course, the other dynamic where it is now. Friends with benefits only, and losing employment, losing jobs, and losing jobs regularly. High unemployment rates, you know. The high unemployment rate's very high for Aspies, about 80%. Just gonna go see a number here, 5-3, because I'm not looking to move. I'm just curious to see, because it says there to rent. I'm not looking to move. I'm just curious. I see it blurred. See, I was prescribed some glasses, but I see it's 4.5. I was prescribed some glasses. I was just curious. I'm curious how much it costs there. Let's go say 5360. How much are the rent nowadays? I've been living in that same place for at least 10 years now. I moved in summer 2015, July 2015. I thought it was 2016, but I used to live. Here's where my old neighborhood begins, right there. That side is my old neighborhood. Nothing that I will to go back to, just living for today. But I used to live in that very moldy place. I didn't even have a bathtub, and the kitchen was in my room. I didn't have a separate kitchen, and there's lots of mold there. I survived that vicious surprise attack. I have to go retrieve my archives from the Jewish General Hospital, because that's where I went, bloodied up. I was viciously attacked by surprise. I was bloodied up. I had a dislocated right arm, shoulder. I was hit in the head a few times. I don't know if I had something in the hand or not, and hit my head on the concrete. Hey, lovelies for the Halloween. Hit my head on the concrete and went to the Jewish General Hospital. Went to the Jewish General Hospital. I survived that vicious surprise attack on the island. It was in the metro. And a big public transit metro station. Metro and bus terminal. Well, because buses and metro like for example, there's buses and metros. They have the metro subways, and they're the buses that are there, right? So the public transit terminals, basically, where you have the. So I survived that, and there was lots of mold there. See, oh, you don't see that well. There's those little 4 antennas, 1, 2, 3, 4. See, those captivate the audio, I guess. You see 1, 2, 3, 4 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and see that's the camera. It's red, 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 but doesn't appear that red. But that's of course for surveillance, I guess. Somewhere sees the webcam, and across the North American Collective, across our empire, we got to place tens of thousands for total SSDL, security, service, and defense, security, service, and defense, security, service, and defense, and insurance of liberty, and across all the corners of our great coming of our empire of the 63 as a mass public private partnership. We got to have them in every corner of our coming empire. We got that public sanitation and public security, and of course here it is. My old neighborhood kind of begins here, nothing that I will to go back to, just living for today, and that's something which I got to be reminisce about, and beyond the categories, of course, of all the representational aspects that I'm kind of some feet in my own neighborhood, but sometimes I still pass by my own neighborhood to go shop, mostly to go shop, because there's some shops which have a little bit of that rock and roll with that, and that is of course just the dynamics what we have now to be that rock and roll. And those dynamics now are of course that I do go shopping sometimes for vegetables and legumes and fruits, and sometimes there's a certain dessert which I can only find in my own neighborhood, which is affordable for the quantity. So I do pass by, and not just sometimes, but besides that, I don't want to go back to nothing, live for today. And gotta salute the truckers, firefighters, plumbers, electricians, the bakers, the butchers, the nurses, the doctors, the electricians, the plumbers, and the welders with it, and all those of course involved in the production, distribution of food. Now thinking how many truckers are going east, west. This is actually north and south. The carrier, I used to live over there in a small moldy place. I moved out of there. If I would have stayed there, I probably would have died. And I have 4 things to do. My deadline before October 31st. One of it is retrieve my archives from the Jewish General Hospital. I'm curious what date it was. Then I went to the emergency room all bloodied up and with a dislocated right arm and shoulder, and the right arm and shoulder was cracked back, and I was put on some meds, and of course I survived that vicious surprise attack. Maybe I was an alcoholic, maybe I was a junkie, and that PTSD trauma to the, I guess, maybe a combination of those made me lose memory, because I have trouble remembering my life prior to January, February 2014. So winter 2014, but that's a long time ago. We're October 17, 2025. So we got March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So that's 7 months. 7 months, right? 7 months. So 11 years and 7 months ago. That's a long time. Oh, I got something in my right eye. Got something in my... something like... I'm not sure what it was. 4 seconds though. It didn't stay long. And I have to clean my room. A big cleaning of the room before October. Go retrieve the archives. Those are my deadlines. Go retrieve the archives, clean my room, and write some letters for inviting all to support my project and dream, the public-private partnership. And the 4th one, I guess, propose. Maybe I'm going to propose, because the 3rd time, maybe I'm going to get a yes. I got 2 no's. 2 no's, eh? I'm going to do like Biden. Supposedly Biden, only the 7th time, he got 6 no's. He proposed 6 times until the 7th time, the ex-president and the vice president. He was also vice president, eh? And he was president before Trump's re-election, second re-election. And of course, don't waste some food. Maybe somebody's gonna come back, finish that. Otherwise, just don't leave it like that. Just compost it, because that's compostable. There's vegetables and what have you, and just throw it in the garbage, because don't leave it like that. If you're gonna come back, finish it. I give people benefit of the doubt, but I'm not that hungry. If I would have been hungry, I guess I would have taken it myself. Sometimes you gotta leave for somebody else, and scraps from the table. Building a new table, got a new table last year, and worked for it. It's work, it's arbeit, it's arbeiten, some buildings and pyramids, and here we are, and we got that drill, and got that survived, and got that joy and got that dream, the dancing goddess in the dragon kingdom, and got those 4 things to do. I got 2 weeks, because next in 14 days it's Friday, it's the 31st. It's nice that Halloween is on a Friday. Gonna dress up. So now I'm gonna discuss geopolitics for the next 40 minutes or so, 44 minutes or so. Geopolitics. Leave the baggage at the door. We're entering my realm of expertise, domain, my special interest as an N.A.C.W.P. I have a special interest in geopolitics, so that's why we're gonna discuss geopolitics. So the relationships, the geopolitical relationships, where we are now, of course, to be enter this dimension. So Granddaddy Trump, I would have voted for Biden, It's always Canadian American, 4 ways for the 10, the 50 and the 3 for the 63, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. I know our allies, with your legions, allies and armies, but in terms of geopolitics, and it's not going to be 51, although it'll be 13, as my brothers and sisters, fellow Canadians. It's time for the Republic, It's time for the Republic. We should have been a Republic at the turn of the 1st January 2000, right when the millennium ended, December 31st, 1999. We should have been a Republic. Should have got rid of the king. The king is absent. And you know that Uncle Carney, 4 months ago when he took reins, the Liberal Party Prime Minister of Canada, pledged allegiance to the King of England and his heirs, not to the Constitution and the people of Canada. Uncle Carney pledged allegiance to the King of England and his heirs. I repeat, Uncle Carney pledged allegiance to the King of England and his heirs. That's just the truth. Pledged allegiance to the King of England and his heirs. That is what happened, And that gotta go. The king is absent. So it's time for the Republic. So that aspect of our politics, you have to, of course, complementary understand as well. Pledged allegiance to the King of England and his heirs. Keep that in mind again. Now the king is absent. It's time for the Republic, So that's just what we have to be now in the relationship where we are going to build and construct and say that the king is absent and we got the domains where we have, of course, to be compromittally and to build and rebuild, as I'm on my 4th rebuilding now. Lots of our infrastructure and fellow Canadians, coast to coast, LOV. Can't tell me nothing. I got the Canadian flag tatted up, coast to coast. And all who come to join us here, but it's time for the Republic. The king is absent, The king is absent. The king is absent. It's time for the Republic. It's time for the Republic. The king is absent. It's time for the Republic. The king is absent. The following statement, which I'm going to make in parallel, I have proof because I have the videos online. So back in 2019, October 17 to be specific, I have predicted, as I'm going up the mountain now, see, goes up and up and up and now, the 3-peak mountain right at between the east and the west, in the heart of Montreal. October 17th, I posted my first video discussing the workout training program system which I created, consequently to go hand in hand with a World War III scenario, an international conflagration scenario, of which we now see that it has unfolded in a general manner as I have predicted it. So back in October 17, back in October, I have predicted that there was going to be an international conflagration, an international conflagration. October 17th, to be specific. October 17th, to be specific. I posted the first video. And I've created a workout training program system, the general integrated total body training system, designed to go hand in hand with the aforementioned scenario, which of course is a World War III scenario. So that was just the relationship between me creating a workout training program system designed to go with a World War III scenario, made simple, effective, and efficient, which requires no equipment, is not made for necessarily aesthetics. It's made for increasing general overall fitness, and it does. I perform more than 372 sessions myself. You can check it out. I created it. I even have recordings of hundreds of sessions of me doing it. I'm performing it, which you can see for yourself. So that's just the complementary relationship thereof. What is this? Made in Spain. Inspired by nature. Interesting. If you see somebody expecting objects like this close to their face, it's probably an ASPE. See details. ASPEs, we tend to have weird, very such as details. See, there's a number there, BP, and there's letters BP, and then there's a number 80,424, or that number there. It's a number in letters 5ESA298. It's very tiny, small, and you might say, hey, you know, I've been buying that product for years and years and years, but I never actually noticed. I actually never noticed those small numbers, and I've been buying that same product for 25 years. This is made in Spain, but there's some maybe French company here. I'm gonna go check it out a bit as we're gonna check these flowers, which I love. I always love passing by these flowers. Are really amazing how they are structured. 3 and 3 there, and see, we gotta get those. See what I was saying here? See those numbers? BP8, or this one. See, well, that's actually I believe that's from part of the address. Perignan, France. It's made in Spain for RTI. So it's made in Spain for that corporation company, Perignan in France. But that number, what does that number mean? BP80424, or that number 5ESA29 it's a number and letters, right? It's not related to the barcode. It's just that small number and that small number. So sometimes ASPEs, you know, we focus on those small numbers like that. This is a weird, awkward characteristics of Asperger's. I'm just going to disinfect my hands and disinfect this product. I don't know what it is exactly. It says in Spanish, friendly with nature on the back, and inspired by nature, virgin paper, inspired by nature. And then it says, of course, plastico and filtro. Plastico and filtro. So of course all that dynamics where we have now to be in the consequential appellations, that we're going to have to disinfect the hands. So of course that disinfecting of the hands is something which I have to be doing now in the consequential appellations where we are. So I'm not sure what it is, something like that, and that's just what it is with that, you know. So I'm going to use the disinfectant. It's actually a antibacterial hand sanitizer, see? It's a moisturizing sanitizer. It's also supposed to moisturize. See? Moisturizing sanitization. Creamy gel kills bacteria and germs. So I'm going to use it because I don't know how many people, of course, had it. And what does he do with that? And that's what it is with that. But that consequential operation now to be integral about. So that's why we got to get a little bit of that rock and roll. Got to get it on the left and on the right. And in the middle with that, of course, transfers, and that's what we gotta get doing. Just to disinfect, kills the bacteria, the germs, and the microbes and all those, of course, microbes and bacteria are gonna be consequently prudent about that in all the domain that I have now. See, that's what we got. Disinfected the product on my hands, so all the bacteria and the germs, the bacteria and the germs that were on it and on my hands thereof are now, I was gonna use the word pacified, but pacification is they're pacified, eh? The bacteria and the germs. So geopolitics, I predicted what's happening now, general manner. However, what I did not predict was that there was going to be a deterioration of relations with the United States. So that I did not predict. I predicted that there will be an international conflagration, but I did not predict a deterioration of relations with the United States. I did not predict, and my brothers and sisters, I get shivers every time I discuss it. You know that since August 1st this year, the motives and the reasons given thereof, black and white by the White House, of why we are designated as an unusual and extraordinary threat, and why Donald Trump and his administration imposed tariffs on Canadian aluminum and steel. It is, of course, the matter where we have, of course, conformity and imprudence where we are now to be, on the levels and on the layers where we are circumpositioned to be, that the motives given, and again, I get goosebumps, not just because I'm always for the 10, the 50, and the 3, and because I feel the danger in the language and the deterioration of relations with us Canadians and vis-a-vis. So since August 1st, Canada is designated as an unusual, an extraordinary threat by the United States. And the motive for that designation, and the motives, plural, why that designation is now on since August 1st, 2025, Canada is designated officially by the Trump administration and as an unusual and extraordinary threat. I get goosebumps, and the points given there because, of course, the appellation, of course, where we have now is, of course, the domains where we got, and of course, the fact that we are now developing our senses in the geopolitical matter, in the foreign affairs matter, of course, where we are now, to be and to develop a further, to build bridges, and of course to find a resolution is, of course, the fact that, look at that potholes there. See, we got a lot of work to do, eh? So, of course, all that to be doing now is something which we have, of course, to do now. Concomitantly of where we are now to do in all the domains where we exist now to be, of course, all the salutations and the solemnness, of course, of where we are now. That the fact is that being designated as an unusual, an extraordinary threat by the United States is unprecedented. So the alarming language is observably there. And of course the other counterposition is, of course, of the manifestation of this fact that the motives given thereof are, of course, several motives, which of course are such, the fact being that, of course, the fentanyl crossing has tripled into Canada. That is correction, from Canada into the United States since 2024. That is one of the motives. The other motives given there by the motives, by which the reason, that is the motives for which the Trump administration and Trump decided to designate us as an unusual and extraordinary threat, and also increase the tariffs on Canadian goods, which are hitting us hard. We're not TKO, but we are, and we're not KO yet, but we've been down a few seconds, you know, like in a boxing match, we've been down, eh? And of course, that is the fact that due to the language there stated clearly that we lack there was a lack of coordination. Now, coordination implies action, right? Joint action. When you coordinate, you don't necessarily cooperate. When you cooperate, you can only exchange, trade information, wisdom, awareness. When you collaborate, when you collaborate, of course, when you collaborate is, of course, the collaboration where you have now to be in the composition of course, all the manifestation where we have now to be soluble and, of course, to be inclusive about and to be manifesting about in all the relationships where we are now to be, that we have, of course, concomitant, where we are, of course, to be constituent, and, of course, all the relations where we got it to be now is, of course, the fact that we are designated as an unusual, an extraordinary threat, and the fact, of course, that tariffs have been increased, and the fact is that 75% of our goods, even more, go to the US market, right? So the words there in black and white, started from August 1st, a few months ago, are thus: the lack of coordination. Now again, coordination implies joint action between US law enforcement and our domestic law enforcement, which I guess is not stated openly, but RCMP is the FBI, basically. The RCMP, the Mounties, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and other police forces, but mainly the RCMP, right? The Mounties, which is the federal police, co-equivalent to the FBI. So that being stated and given there is, of course, the other parallel mention of the motives and the reason. Another motives and reason is, of course, given that there is a growing reality of domestic fentanyl production in Canada due to super labs. And what happened last year, October 25th, 2024, the RCMP dismantled, seized the biggest ever lab in Canadian history. Last year is going to be in 8 days, not this Saturday. Saturday is going to be 1 year celebratory, and good job. I'm gonna say bravo, well done. The RCMP dismantled the biggest ever lab in Canadian history last year. Can you imagine that one drug super lab in Surrey, BC could have potentially killed 95 million? Approximately more than twice the population of Canada, because there were 95 million doses seized, along with weapons, and of course money. And that fentanyl produced in this one lab, operated by a transnational criminal syndicate organized group, run and operated by a transnational criminal syndicate organized group, run and operated by a transnational criminal syndicate organized group in 2024 last year. The amount of fentanyl seized there could have killed the population of Canada twice over. Can you imagine if you've been on the streets or by mistake, could have been killing children, young children could have been harmed by so many. So just that one lab could have killed the population of Canada twice over. Can you imagine one lab? What if this transnational criminal syndicate organized group was had 5 labs, super labs, coast to coast, ocean to ocean? That means that one was dismantled. Good job to the RCMP. Just last year, 25th of October of last year. And of course, just last year, that means that there's 4 to go. There's 4 to go if they had 5. Maybe one is here in Quebec. Maybe one is in Manitoba, the prairies. Maybe one is in the Northwestern Territories, Yukon. Maybe one is in Ontario. Maybe one is in the Maritimes, New Brunswick. Maybe even close to Halifax, where I went to visit. Verstehst? So you understand the problem? So it's serious. And the RCMP has been warning us since about 2015. Since about 2015, and furthermore since 2021 during COVID, that there's a growing transnational criminal syndicate organized group problem. There's a growing transnational criminal syndicate organized groups. There's a growing transnational criminal syndicate organized group problem. The RCMP warned us, said there's a growing transnational criminal syndicate organized groups. Yeah. There's a growing transnational criminal organized group problem. We've been warned. It's about 2015 now by the RCMP. So what if these transnational criminal syndicate organized groups have been starting to be supported by foreign domestic actors and powers because of the DMAA, the direct military assistance and action, you know. The direct military assistance and action, the DMAA, the direct military assistance and action. The direct military assistance and action or assistance I'm going to now discuss is not just a theory. It's a framing reference, it's a protocol, and of course it's a theoretical framework. It's a framework, it's a theory, it's a proposition, and it's a work tool, it's a referential work tool which has to be implemented for us to discern whether we are going to take action or assist in the future. So now focus on the DMAA. While keeping in mind what I just discussed, the decision of Trump administration to designate Canada as an unusual and extraordinary threat, and of course for the decision to designate Canada as an unusual and extraordinary threat, and of course for us to be consequently under additional tariffs pressures which cause mass layoffs, cause mass problems, because where we export the most, 75%, and forget the wishful thinking other countries are not going to be able. They're already having their own economic problems. They're having their economic problems as well, the European Union, with Russia invading Ukraine and all that. And possibly China invading Taiwan, because I think they're going to do it soon, because they locked the rare earths, and they had locked in the rare earths. Now we're going to be a big problem with that, so we're going to that's a big geopolitical move if they're going to stop selling rare earths to the US and NATO member countries. Maybe that's what they're doing. They're going to just do it with Russia and the BRICS and the BRICS and the BRICS and the BRICS. The BRICS and Russia, right? The BRICS, because we need rare earths. So that is just incremental. That requires hours and hours of discussion, just that specific. It's relevant to what I'm going to say now, the DMAA, because that's a potential consequence of the direct military action and assistance, because they haven't let go of Taiwan, right? Taiwan is officially a rogue province of China, and they're looking to reintegrate. That conflict also goes back to the 20th century, and that was mainly my prediction, that these conflicts from the 20th century are going to restart in the 21st century. And here we are in the 21st century. Israel, Hamas is an organization that was founded in 1987. Only 20 years later they took power. Hamas, it took them 20 years to reach power. Even in the Gaza Civil War of 2007, they fought a civil war with Hamas and Fatah, Hamas for Fatah organizations, and they took power of Gaza, and they built those, from what we know, because I'm not on the ground to explore the tunnels, but a massive hundreds and hundreds of kilometers and miles of tunnel system underneath, tunnels and miles underneath, of course, there for them to wage warfare against Israel, that's an unresolved conflict from the 20th century again, right? A two-state solution and all that hasn't been put it on the functionality on the record, of course, there to be. That is just something which we have, of course, now. Look at the dragon. So now that we are consequently, of course, where we are now, to be, of course, inside all the propositions where we are now, are these dynamics. So these dynamics are of a societal, geopolitical nature, which have deteriorated. So now I'm going to discuss the DMAA, direct military assistance and action. Super important to pay full attention to this. Direct military assistance and action, or assistance and action, has in parentheses a C. It is for NATO. NATO has, the motto of NATO is animus incur liber, and suffice it to say, and important to say, that of course the motto of NATO being animus incur liber, being translated in English as a mind unfettered in deliberation, my DMAA theory, protocol, and work tool has to be deliberated with wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, and information available for us maybe to not take action, or ponder the consequences thereof of taking action or assisting conflicts which are not part of NATO, right? Which are between non-NATO member countries and states such as Russia, Ukraine. Neither is in NATO. Israel, Palestine, Israel, Hamas. Israel is not part of NATO. Now, before October 7th, 2023, as Israel calls that, there's their 9/11, of course, the hardcore retribution and retaliation thereof. So that they waged a war on Hamas. It was a retribution of war. And of course, neither is in NATO. Before October 7th, 2023, I was advocating as part of what I had a four-part lecture series. I was advocating, of course, for both Israel and Mexico to simultaneously join NATO. I was advocating for both Israel, and Mexico to join NATO. For both Israel and Mexico to join NATO prior to October 7th, 2023, I was advocating for both Israel and NATO to join. For Israel and Mexico to join NATO prior to October 7th, I had the four-part lecture series entitled NATO Genesis 33 Initiative and Protocol Genesis 33, based on the alliance and the many decades later of the two twins, the brothers from the Bible, Jacob and Esau, who made a pact and an alliance, and that was the project Genesis 33. Now, if there's a ceasefire and all that, we can revise it. But suffice it, of course, to say that NATO only invoked Article 5 once, right? There was only one time in the history that NATO invoked Article 5, the one time. It has never occurred afterwards. NATO, only once in a 75-year history, has NATO invoked Article 5. Only once. NATO only invoked Article 5 once in its 75-year history. And that was basically in the case where he was related to be on 9/11. So back to the DMAA, Direct Military Assistance and Action. Direct military assistance and action. So it's when NATO countries take action or assist countries which are in conflict, which are not part of NATO. So but it has to be military. It has nothing to do with, of course, providing sanitation, pads, or healthcare, or things of a humanitarian aid, or healthcare, or medicinal. It's strictly related to military, which can kill potentially the adversarial army soldiers, right? For example, Ukraine is not part of NATO. Canada, we provided helmets, munitions, armaments, weapons, armored vehicles, drones, etc., etc., military equipment, right? So we assisted militarily. Oh wow, look at that. That's a cool Halloween. I love it when I say it. Oh yeah, that's original. That's a UFO. Unidentified flying object. I think there's Batman there, so that's got that good. So now we're gonna drill it on that, and we're gonna, of course, be on the proposed. So that is the aspects. Those are the aspects, of course, of what we are to be considered now. So the DMAA, for example, the concrete and most recent example is Canada and other member nations, countries of NATO, providing humanitarian, not humanitarian. So this, if it's humanitarian or otherwise non-military, it does not include it. It has to be military, which Canada, of course, we did. Canada, of course, Canada, of course, Canada supported militarily. So Canada and other nation member countries supported in a military way, supported military affairs, and of course supported the adversarial power of Ukraine. So by providing helmets, munitions and ammunitions, and of course whatever the case may be, they have provided of course provided ammunitions, provided military assistance, not action. Action was, for example, taken in Libya, in Serbia in 1990, Belgrade and other countries in the world, right? NATO action, but it was assistance. So this DMAA has the C in parentheses, the consequence, and that consequence can be and is, one of it is, the solidification of the Russia-China, Sino-Russian relations. China and Russia solidifying their relations. Oh, this is also nice, super cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow, this is really cool. I love it, I love it, I love it. This is really nice. So much color. I love the lights. I just love the bright lights. And you got some Christmas holidays mixed in with these ones. Are super nice. Oh wow, what a beauty. The eyes are so trippy. Nice. I love it, love it, love it. So of course providing military assistance has consequences. And those consequences can be that those powers and superpowers and powers can of course help and provide or by covert operations with their secret police can support transnational criminal syndicate organized groups, such as that transnational criminal syndicate organized group which was running that big drug super lab, which was dismantled by the RCMP. So that is the consequence which this has to be pondered. So it's not just a theory or a philosophy, it's a work tool. It's a protocol, of course, for work. So it has to be a protocol and a theoretical framework where we incorporate it, and with the dynamic of it is just, of course, much more sophisticated, and there's much more to it. But of course, generally, that is the general introduction, if I would say, a brief general introduction of the DMAA, and the direct military assistance and action has consequences. So those consequences can be that different powers and nation states support or are being supported underground, covert way by, of course, the transnational criminal syndicate organized groups, which can support those groups in a way which can harm our citizenry, right? So if nation states, powerful nation states support, for example, transnational criminal syndicate organized groups which have run the operation of fentanyl, that can cause mass harm and damage. That can be very damaging, because look where that got us. Now we're designated by the United States as an unusual and extraordinary threat. And the growing super lab, this is nice also, the growing super lab reality in Canada is Canada becoming a mass producer of fentanyl, not just for domestic consumption but for export, is a problem for the Trump administration, a serious problem which they view they're hardcore. I mean, I didn't predict the re-election of Donald Trump. That I did not predict. I predicted an international conflagration, but somehow the American people, he's there. His second mandate, Granddaddy Trump, I guess, Granddaddy Trump is there. Second mandate, Granddaddy Trump is there. His MAGA Republicans, pretty hardcore, But now we gotta focus on the 21st century, on the North American Collectif, vis-a-vis also the DMAA, which I just discussed, which can be extended to NATO, because we're part of NATO, and Sweden was the last one to join. So the DMAA, if we do take action or we do assist militarily, has the C, the consequences, which can be fomenting inside NATO countries, civil unrest, financing civil unrest, taking advantage by finance or organized groups, financing riots, financing discord, financing protest, financing transnational organized groups, and taking advantage of our vulnerabilities in Canada, coast to coast, which are many. So I can only technically discuss with many security officers of the highest level, such as, David McGinty, and of course my total mobile defense theory. I just introduce it and discuss it, but I can't discuss it over much because it's by national security sensitive. So now we're gonna move into the DRT, debt refusion theory, the DRT. Super important that you pay attention fully to the debt refusion theory, because it's the most important theories and protocols which we have to implement among the other ones in parallel. So they all, of course, go consecutively. They all go in a parallel way to all, of course, the other ones. But this one is, of course, the parallel, and the parallel is, of course, to the CIT, the citizen integration theory. Parallel, of course, to all those concomitant aspects where we have now the DRT, debt refusion theory, is the solution, or something similar to the current economic, financial, commercial problems which we are faced with, myself included. Financial stress. My only stress a nail now is really economic, financial. Besides that, I get moody sometimes, but no longer depressed, suicidal, rather joyous. And it took me years to appreciate my neurodivergence and aspiness with which I live with, because there's no medication. I just have to work on the characteristics and the traits, you know, and fitness journey. And I could use a massage therapy session. And that's just what we have to do now, and to be compromitting, of course, and to be now in the appellatives, of course, of our rebirth and my rebirth and our imperial coming into our empire. So the DRT, debt refusion theory, I have to explain, and I have to, of course, relegate it, of course, to the most utter consequential and most utter dedication of the attention that needs to be proceeding now. So the DRT, the debt refusion theory, is, of course, to be implemented now. The DRT, the debt refusion theory, the debt refusion theory is, of course, something which we have to implement consequently. So I'm gonna explain it to you now. The debt refusion theory, the DRT, the debt refusion theory, is something which we have, of course, to consequently do. That is something which we gotta be appellated on about. So that is something which we have to be mindful about. And of course, not necessarily, So now, turn your heads left or right. We're going to discuss the DRT, debt refusion theory. So, because we are faced with four main problems, economic problems. Those four main problems are, for the DRT has to be implemented binationally, and then we can expand it, but Canada, United States first and foremost, because four main problems are pressing the majority of the citizens. One is the growing cost of living. The prices of goods, bacon, cheese, bread, butter, romaine lettuce, and many other products, beef, turkey, etc., are growing in price. Prices are still rising. My wafers went up 3 times in the past 3.5 years, from $1 then to $1.17, from $1.17 to $1.39, from $1.39 finally $1.50. So the DRT, of course, we have those problems. You know, and those problems are, so inconsequently, where we have, of course, to be those problems relatively, of course, to be now inside the integral where we are now. So, of course, those domains, what we have now to be XYZ appellated, of course, what we got now to be the domain. And that is what it is with that. So, of course, those problems, which are four, affect us, right? Those are the four main problems: growing cost of living, growing cost of rent, growing cost of living, growing cost of rent, growing cost of rent, growing cost of living. So we're not going to go to the top today, because we went the other day. We're already at the top, but not going to go furthermore. We're going to come tomorrow or the other day. Just going to go slide it down, see? Come by this is where we are. Mount Royal. This is where the rocks are. This is one way, so I can cross, see? This is one way here. You're not supposed to see cars coming from that side. Only from that side. So we're not going to go, actually we're going to go around about like that, see? Okay, we're going to take the stairs, but go out by the side, right? We're not going to go all the way to the top. Not today. Not today. Probably during the weekend and next weekend and other weekends. Next weekend is the first Scorpio weekend. So the DRT explained because we got 4 main problems. The 4 main problems are the growing cost of rents as well, the stagnation of the salaries. The salaries are stagnating, right? The stagnation of the salaries, that's why we see more and more strikes. I guess here when I go to let my main out, gonna trim it, auction a little bit of it. Anybody want to finance, buy? Gonna auction a little bit. There we go. Let the main out. Ready for before Sabbath. Sabbath begins at midnight. Gonna get that rock and roll with that, and that's all we got here. Oh yeah. Rock and roll for the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, pledge your legions, firefighters and the electric. So we are on the mountain. We're not at the top, but we're on the mountain nonetheless. So we're gonna go by the side there, and that's gonna be that drill. Do a little bit of that rock and roll and head back squid. So the 4 main problems which are affecting both Canada and the United States citizenry, the majority of the citizenry, is the growing cost of living, growing rents. My rent went up, of course, between 6 and 10. I'm not going to divulge how much exactly, but it also went up between 6 and 10. I can't complain because it's reasonable for my rental increase considering. So also the stagnation of the salaries, and the 4th one is the growing credit card debt. So those 4: growing cost of rents, growing cost of living, stagnation of the salaries, and of course the 4th one is, you guessed, the credit cards. Even now somebody is using those credit cards to buy, sell things. So we have reached both the majority of Canadians and my brothers and sisters in the United States have reached record level. There's less and less people. If I would have came here spring, summer, it would have been plenty of people coming, but as it gets colder, less and less, and sometimes you see me alone there going in a snowstorm. I have one from last year, I think it was January, February. It was a big snowstorm, maybe December, January or February, gotta double check. It was alone, just me and the flora fauna. So here as I am in the wilderness, on the mountain, the mistress fierce, but open to all. Gotta submit in a way. She calls me COCK, so I'm gonna be the greatest in the universe. The DRT explained it includes the MIT monitor integration theories integrated in my DRT. That's the solution. We're gonna take all the public-private debt of Canada, coast to coast, ocean to ocean. We're gonna add it up. We're gonna convert it into US dollars. We're gonna add it with the US public and private debt, because you gotta be, my DRT has to be implemented, of course, binationally. For the North American Collective, we're gonna lay the foundations for the new central bank, the Imperial Central Bank. We're gonna, of course, create the UE, U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.UE. The universal exchange is gonna have the value of the US dollar. We could also call it the imperial dollar, but fundamentally, whether it's a dollar, a shekel, a yuan, yen, a euro, it is fundamentally an exchange unit to buy, sell. So it requires a mass public-private policy. My brother, citizen Scorpio, Bill Gates, and BlackRock, Blackstone, and two financial institutions, as well as my RBC and all private and public tech institutions and organizations and banks are required for this mass work and this great work to implement the DRT. Debt refusion theory. So we're going to take all the public-private debt, bundle it up together with all the money in circulation. We're going to create a new currency called the Imperial Dollar, aka the UE, U.Universal, E.Exchange, U.UE. The universal exchange is going to have, and it will have, the value of the US dollar, So we're going to set an interest rate level of 10%. We're going to get rid of the border, fuse the RCMP and the FBI, created two complementary covenant and cooperative institutions for total SSDL, security, service and defense and insurance of liberty, and of course the Imperial integrated SSDL legions, Draconis, aka Draconis Imperial integrated for the 63, which we're going to fuse into the Imperial complex. We're going to create also the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, for the environmental action and protection, and of course doing the individual aspect in the big cities and all across the 63 of our coming empire of the super states. And we're going to get rid of the border. We're going to do a census. We're going to see who's been living here since about in the past 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years, March 2014, and see if they haven't convicted 44 criminal convictions. Then they get some rehabilitation, and we're going to create the new imperial passport of the new Imperial Democratic Republic of the new United States of America. And of course we're going to create create the new biometrics, and we're going to create this new currency. We're going to build 44 tunnels, mass underground city structures in case of a thermonuclear war. We're going to mass finance citizens' fitness. We're going to mass rebuilding of the infrastructure, the highways, the bridges by the DRT. We're going to be able to mass finance public works, put a lot of people to work, and rehabilitate the criminal population, rehabilitate this healthcare. We're going to also have the great Imperium tourism ministry, where every season, whether it's equinox or solstice, in the spring, in the autumn, in the summer, spring, autumn, equinox, in the summer, in the spring, in the winter, in the autumn, spring or winter equinoxes, we're gonna mass finance. We're gonna credit all citizens 4 days, 4 times a year for each of the aforementioned, regardless of other status. We're gonna credit 4 days, 4 nights, basically, with everything included. Lodging, don't expect champagne, but I'm gonna keep it up for the breakfast, lunch, and for the breakfast, for the lunch, for the dinner. I'm gonna just burger it up, hamburgers and cheeseburgers and fries, some of that good with that. A little bit of wine is gonna apply to me as well as to everybody, small, tall, rich and poor. The Imperial tourism, 4 days, 4 times a year. This is gonna be a mass public-private partnership, which is gonna rejuvenate us. See, we're atop of the mountain here now, on the mountain on the island of the Hawk. The Imperial Tourism Ministry is going to be concorded as a mass public-private partnership, as we're going to fuse the RCMP and the FBI and our forces for total SSD, coast-to-coast, ocean-to-ocean. This financing of tourism, of course, was going to rejuvenate everybody who's 16 and over. The only category, the only, of course, standards to be 16 and over, 16 and plus. You're going to get credit 4 times a year, 4 days. You can take 4 days 4 times a year, every season. And, of course, you can accumulate 8. When you accumulate 16, you can take 16 or 8 or 12, you know, or you could accumulate days, 32 days, and then take all, don't take it for a few seasons. Then you accumulate, you have more days to take it and visit Quebec to California, vice versa. And of course, we're going to rehabilitate the population, but this is going to rejuvenate us. And once you use it or you lose it, you have to accumulate 4 minimum, and then you can take 4, you know, you can accumulate, or after you get to like 44, you use them or lose them. Basically, it's use them or lose them, and it's going to be a mass public-private partnership. This Imperial tourism effort was going to rejuvenate us. We're going to visit each other 63 states, and we're going to have a public-private partnership with all security institutions and appellations to work thereof. Pledge your allegiance, support the dream.